Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are, everybody. So here we are for another epic episode of Lorne Radio, with a bit of a difference. It's lockdown Lorne Radio this time. So everybody on the planet is virtually at home, bored out of their fucking tears because they can't do what they want to do, we can't go where we want to go. So if there's any cure for this obsessive fucking morbidness that seems to be overtaking the planet at the minute, let's have a laugh at our favourite sex offender. That's what seems to keep the world turning, and I've got some people with me. I've got my usual group of friends here. I have Mr. Shins Koala and Tiffany Lockhart here. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Very well said, Andrew, by the way. Get there.
Now, it may get a little bit crowded here. We've got quite a number of other people here as well. People that you will know from the community. So we've got, first of all, I'll go in the order that they appear on my Skype. So we've got Wes Most, who appears in the chats quite a lot. And we've known for quite a bit. Hello, Wes.
Hello, everyone.
And how's it going, dude?
I mean, as good as it can. It's going pretty well.
Good. Well, thanks for reaching out to me, because I put my Skype details on the advertisement for the stream. So I asked the same predictable question to everybody who comes on the streams who we've not spoke to before. So would you just like to explain how you got into this fucking bizarre community that you can't tell any of your friends and family about, and explain how you stumbled across my fucking stupid videos? I'm kind of interested, really.
Oh yeah, so I've always been into TCAP since it first came on, and I used to have it on a jump drive, and I would just always watch it. You know, like every month or so, I would watch it, and people I worked with would say, "Why are you watching that show again?" And I just really enjoyed seeing these guys get busted. And I never watched YouTube really. And a couple years ago, I just, on a whim, decided to look it up. And then I was just kind of amazed at this whole community. And so at first I just started off watching the TCAP episodes, and I thought all the other stuff was really weird and stupid. And I had no interest in Lorne or any of it. And then I just started watching those things. And I said, but I'm never going to listen to the Holy Lornography, the base shaman, 32 chapter or whatever. There was no way I was going to do that. And then within like 2 weeks, I was falling asleep listening to the shaman Holy Lornography. So that's when I knew I was one of those weirdos. And I reached out to Bake Sammy because I wanted to do some work with him. I didn't have a channel at the time, and that was basically it.
Well, you're in good company with the rest of us weirdos, dude.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No,
and then, yeah, that's why I found your channel as well. Sorry about that.
No, it's great. Cheers for coming on, man. It's really good to get hear people we've not heard from before and get other people's perspectives on it, because we all, it's like I said, we all have this bizarre fascination with this guy and this kind of this TV program that was on fucking 13, 14 years ago. But it's not something that we can really explain to our friends and stuff, is it? And they just look at you like you're fucking insane. I've been talking to girls and not got laid because I've mentioned my YouTube channel. You know what I mean?
That's dedication right there.
You got to wait till afterwards. You got to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the next trick. Yeah, fucking hell. Cheers for coming on, dude. So next on my Skype list, I think this is just in order of who's joined. Joran Comedy, dude. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. I wanted to be here since the beginning.
Yeah, I know we've been speaking about it for a while. So same question I put to Wes can I put to you. When did you get involved in this little escapade?
Sure. Well, I'm absolutely the baby of any group. It's been 9 months. I first discovered it. I'll give you the quicker version. I discovered a channel called Frederick Knudsen down the rabbit hole. From there, he got me into Chris Chan. Chris Chan led me to the gateway drug himself, Base Shaman. And he got me into Lorne. And I started listening to him doing the Holy Lornography. I did about 3 chapters. I got bored because I thought he was trying too hard to be funny. Little did I know he was doing the mini syllables, and I didn't know what mini syllables were. So, but then after that, DankNet gave me the whole Church of COD timeline, which was helpful. And then TCAPocalypse happened. And one day I was searching Bass Shaman, and I found your interview with him, you and your buddy Adam. And I got into your channel the very same week you were in America, only a few hours away from me.
Wow.
So it was very frustrating because I was like, I could have met Shin and Andy, and now I find out Socks Parker. They were hours away. I would have loved to see Lorne cry. I would have loved to see you double over in laughter from only wanting to do my cooking show. But the time was not right. And then about 3 months into it, after listening to Sundays with COD religiously, I decided that I wanted to start a channel doing comedy. The first idea I had, actually, Andy, was the idea for you, the teaching your children one I did. But I had reached out to Klava first, and he was super encouraging. And from there, January 5th. So, yeah, I've been doing this 4 months and having the time of my life making fun of Lorne to the best of my ability.
Oh, well, nice one, dude. I mean, that is like, the ultimate form of art, isn't it? Making fun of Lorne. There's so much to go at. I'm just waiting for whoever it is that starts making some kind of parody videos on the rape class thing, because we've got so much to go at there. I mean, we speak about it virtually every week, don't we, Shin? But fucking hell, the comedy potential contained within that is just infinite. We could do a movie, we could do a series, we could do comic books. Oh, whether any of it would get commissioned is a fucking another matter, like, you know what I mean? Slightly controversial, but yeah. Cheers for joining us, dude.
Thanks so much.
By the way, Mebs was there too, so you missed seeing him. Just a shout out to Mebs.
Yeah, and Socks, who's in the chat as well, who was kind enough to show me the what was the fucking casino called that you picked me up from, dude? What was it called?
I can't remember.
Is it the Encore Casino?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
the Encore Casino in Boston. He kind of got me a cheap room there, and I stayed in probably the most luxurious pad I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. Really was amazing. Such a great place. I know I keep harping on about it, but it was just an amazing experience to see Boston and drive up to Maine. It was a great few days. So next, a guy who doesn't need any introductions, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. And it's the first time. When was it? It's Mr. Clobber Eyes himself. How you doing, dude?
What's going on, Andrew? Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, you don't need to thank me, dude. I should be thanking you. But we don't really. Our sort of streams don't really coincide very much. You always start when I'm going to sleep, so we don't really talk.
Yeah, I know.
Because of the crazy time zones and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I remember you, Clobber, right when I first started making videos. You was about in the community. I remember. I just remember your comments appearing quite a lot. I don't think I did live streams back then. But
No, I don't think anybody really did.
No, that's right. Because when did the live stream thing start? When was it?
As far as TCAP live streams, Shaman and Ember started doing those in like maybe 2017, probably.
Yeah, I think didn't Nathaniel do them as well? He used to do.
I don't remember.
I think he used to do drunk. I know he was a bit of an arsehole, but he used to do drunk sort of streams, didn't he?
Well, I don't know if they were TCAP live streams. I know he did his day trader shit. And
That's right.
He did the poker live streams.
Yeah, poker and Lorne, but it had nothing to do with Lorne.
Right.
But cheers for joining us, dude. Anyway.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thank you.
And I've heard a whisper. Someone told me about all the what is you have basically it's you that's put it all together, dude. Well, it's not you know you're the one that kind of has managed to do all the streams that's gathered all the money for Betty, I believe. Did you want to just tell everybody what the total is and what's happened with the Betty situation? Because it's just fantastic.
Yeah, we just eclipsed. Well, we're right at 23,000. So, yeah. Well, I mean, we really never thought that we would have been happy with 5,000. You know what I mean? But all these amazing people in this community have really like, it's. I don't even have the words to describe how much I love the people in this community, to be honest with you, man. Like, this surpasses any of our wildest dreams, for real.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's a strange situation, really, because people know my thoughts on the trolling and all, you know, the catfishing and all. That's nothing we need to get into at this point, because, you know, we've just got some fun today. But all of that, is, you know, a huge part of it is accumulated with Betty getting loads of money back. So it's kind of, I'm a bit of a kind of conflict with that, because of course, you know, she's been through hell with what Lorne did to her, like, and, you know, her husband passing away, and for her to have some kind of a, you know, some kind of a comfortable period of her life because of all this, it's kind of a remarkable situation, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the one thing we can all agree on, though, is, you know, whether you support the trolling, whether you have a problem with it or not, I think we all share the same opinion on Betty. And, you know, if this is getting her back to health, I think that's something that we all want.
Yeah, and it's exactly, it's something that, you know, we've all, we can't, luckily, Lorne's never, you know, Kayla wasn't real. Unfortunately, Betty did get scammed, but some of that money is getting back to her at this period in her life, so it's something that we're able to sort of mop up a little bit after Lorne, the whole community, and of course, you know, you doing your streams and people enjoy listening to the call so much, and they enjoy listening to your commentary on it, and everybody gets involved, and that's why I do these things every so often, to get to talk to people that we've not heard from before. And I think it's just part of the sort of, you know, the sort of community aspect of it all. There's so many different little communities out there on YouTube, but this is kind of a little niche that we all share together, isn't it?
Yeah, and there is one thing I do want to make sure that people are clear on, that this fundraiser does not absolve or excuse Lorne's debt. We are not paying down. Lorne still owes, you know, 29, or I think they settled at 20,000.
Of course, so, and it's important
19,000 for. Yeah. We're not doing this to bail Lorne out. We're doing this to help Betty. So, well, I mean, as far as we're all concerned, Lorne still owes that money.
But he may as well not do, because we all know
he's never going to pay it. No, of course not.
But of course it's good that you know it's important that you said that, because what we don't want to happen, I don't think it'll happen, but it'd be like important that Lorne doesn't get to hear about this, because if he did, not that he'd pay it anyway, but it'd give him some kind of, like, he'd be able to buzz off it in his own head and say, oh well, I don't have to pay that money now. You know, he'd kind of use it to have his advantage, wouldn't he? And he'd probably try and profit off it himself, and he'd probably try suing you, Clobber.
So he's talked about it.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to come after me. He's more about my fictional T-shirts store. That's what he really wants to take down.
Because you don't like fucking Derek.
He does not like Derek.
Oh, it's so funny. Well, cheers for that update, Clobber. It's brilliant, and you know, you've kind of, I know it wasn't, there was a combination of people that, you know,
lots of people.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, you're doing the streams every week. You know, getting people involved and getting people paying. It, you know, your contribution can't be underestimated. So, you know, I'm sure everybody appreciates that anyway. But you know, well done to you, dude.
Thank you, sir.
Somebody else who's been very active in the community over the last few months from the streams that we've done, Amanda James herself. Now, I want to ask you, Amanda James, I think, is responsible for is the catalyst for Lorne's catfishing behaviour. Like, why did you decide to do that to such an innocent person? Fucking disgraceful.
He was just such an easy target, and I had to get the Dale Earnhardt merch.
But seriously though, it's Amanda, just in case this isn't the real Amanda James. But what I would like to ask
No.
you, Amanda, is did you pick that name in the community because you kind of like are intrigued as to what happened, or is it just something that you thought of like off the top of your head?
I just thought of it, but it just came to the top of my head. But I am very interested as time goes on. I've become more interested in what really happened with Amanda James. I would love to know how Lorne's sister figured out that she was fake in a matter of 2 minutes. And Lorne, he said he spoke to her for 2 years and he couldn't get it. So I'd love to know what that conversation really was.
Oh, wouldn't we all? Yeah. It is kind of interesting, isn't it? But I suppose from all the information we've got about the catfishing recently, we all continue to be surprised by stupidity every single week, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that unusual that he could be so easily duped. It's like anyone with a female voice. It's even with blokes putting on female. Men putting on female voices seems to completely blindside him, doesn't it?
Well, that's the question. Was Amanda James a man and his sister figured it out because it was clearly a man's voice? Or I don't know how you could tell just from a 2-minute phone call that someone has been lying to you. So I wish Lorne would elaborate and let us know what really happened.
Do you think also that him not stopping in Pennsylvania on his way back is kind of weird too, or part of that?
Well, he didn't know where she lived, if I remember correctly. So he could stop in the state of Pennsylvania, but he's not going to find her.
Which is interesting that he doesn't have that information too. So,
right.
So good to have Amanda.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I've wanted to have you on for a while because, like you, we had a quick chat before we started the streaming. You said you're quite. Did you describe yourself as being quite disagreeable? Shall we say?
I can be. Yeah, I can argue sometimes when it's not really called for. But yeah, I like to look at all sides of a situation or an argument.
Yeah.
What about how did you get involved? Did you already ask that, Andrew? You asked that?
No.
Oh, how did I get involved in all this? Mm-hmm. I don't remember watching To Catch a Predator when it originally aired. I think it was like a year ago. I was watching a lot of true crime stuff on YouTube, and that brought me to the Hansen versus Predator series. So I watched all of those, and I loved them, and then moved on to TCAP. And loved those too. And once I had gone through all of the stings, I started watching analysis videos. And I probably saw some of yours, Andrew. And I know some of the first ones I saw were Isaiah Teacaps. And the only reason I even was interested in Lorne was somewhere I heard that he was from Maine. And I wanted to know what part of Maine, is he near me and my friends and family? So I searched Lorne Armstrong on YouTube and I found a Ramona call. It was the kelp pill call. And I had no context. I thought Ramona must be his real girlfriend. I had no idea there was any catfishing going on. I remember listening and being like, this woman sounds kind of normal. Why is she involved with this guy? And then I listened more and learned it was this whole catfishing thing. And I've been hooked ever since.
It's kind of a unique situation. This is what, when it first started with the Ramona situation, with none of us well, I'm sure there was a lot of people that did, but most of us didn't know exactly what was going on. So it was incredibly intriguing because I'd always fascinated about Lorne. Like what always interested me the most was how did someone plight so much? How did someone stoop as low as him? You see, all the predators stooped as low as can be, right? To turn up to the house and be humiliated like that, I can't imagine anything worse. But not only did that happen to Lorne, he made it like 20 times worse by breaking down in tears like a little girl, by proposing to her, by, you know, getting sort of put on the floor by the cops in such, you know, like violent circumstances. His hat falls off. It's a total humiliation on every level. It's like, and I think he had the biggest chat log from the whole show.
Yeah,
it wasn't
sleeping
just
on the floor
case.
too.
Yeah.
He wasn't just put on the floor; he was sleeping on the floor too.
Yeah, exactly. It was the chat log, the things that we knew from the chat log. The things, you know, like you said, things like sleeping on the floor, doing the karaoke, all the pathetic aspects of his life. He opened up everything, so we got a full detail about everything that had gone on. And he was kind of an interesting character at the same time, so that intrigued me. So when he was getting catfished, I'm like, oh my God, we're getting to know even more. And it was such an intriguing situation. And then obviously it escalated, and you know, everybody, you know, opinions about what were going on. We don't need to get into that, but it was interesting for a number of reasons, because you had the comedy aspect of it. You was getting a true insight into someone's life. You was like dictating someone's life, and then there was obviously, you know, there was questions about whether it was the right thing to do or not. That got brought up, and everybody had an opinion, and there was like an ethics debate. It was a very, very interesting situation, I thought. Really, kind of an unprecedented situation as well, to have a group of people that were brought together to then be dictating how this guy's life was going. Do you know what I mean? And it was all being broadcast live on YouTube. What a strange situation.
Mm-hmm.
And funny. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And that's why we're kind of here, really. So to try.
Well, you know, part of it he was an extremely was extremely eager participant. You know, I mean, he basically had his life online or with the catfish. So I mean, and he was so willing to open up about things and really reveal a lot of things about himself we didn't know. You know, a lot of stuff that Tiffany found, a lot of stuff, you know, all the stuff that a lot of us are interested in about his life. But he was more than a willing participant, and that helps. So, and it's not a situation where somebody's calling him and harassing him and he's saying, please leave me alone. You know, it's totally different.
No, he totally wants to participate. He's so lonely and desperate that he'll hang on for dear life. If he thinks there's a vagina at the end of the tunnel, he will just hang in there and do whatever these girls want him to do, whatever they want him to say, whatever they want him to divulge, he'll do it.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's why Tiffany was able to get out of him what she did with regard to the, you know, the I am a predator calls that Tiffany was involved with. I fucking love them so much, because there's no, of course, there's the, you know, the whole catfishing thing and the ruse that brought him to that, but that was just, let's try and get into this guy, let's see if we can figure it out, and let's see if we can make this guy see some sense of reality, because everybody's got the different opinion on how Lorne should be treated and his lack of responsibility. But there's a part, I think, in every one of us, regardless of how you feel about him, and that's, I want this guy to see himself for how he really is and to see the truth. We all want him at some point to realise, to cut through the shit. And I think Tiffany tried as good as anybody and still didn't get anywhere.
No, she didn't. He just said what she wanted to hear, or what he thought she wanted to hear. My favorite Tiffany call, and I go back to the Tiffany calls a lot. I really like listening to her tell him what a piece of shit he is. My favorite call is titled Pedophile. And
I agree.
It's like, yeah, it's 90% Tiffany telling him what a monster he is and what a horrible person he is, and how he could have damaged this child, and how he could have damaged, you know, every aspect of her life. And it's 10% Lorne making excuses for why he's a scumbag.
Or saying, I know.
Yeah. Well, he says, I know I said stupid shit in that call. That's one of the lines that really frustrates me that he said. Nobody hates him because he said stupid things. People hate him because he said horrible, damaging things that could, you know, destroy a kid.
Yeah.
And also the fact that he was exposing himself too.
Sorry, Tiffany, what was that? I didn't hear.
No, I was just saying that he was also exposing himself and masturbating at the same time.
Right, of course, all of it. Asking her to touch herself, telling her to keep these secrets from her parents and get a lock on her door and all of it.
Well, and I don't think the Debbie calls, like you're talking about the MySpace calls, those are not that's not a catfish. At that point, the Debbie character never gave Lorne any illusions that there would be any kind of relationship.
Yes.
In fact, quite the opposite. Said that there is no way in hell I'm going to be ever dating you. So I think there's a distinction between.
That was his motivation.
Yeah, I mean, despite what his motivation. Well, of course, it's Lorne. He's talking to a female. He's always motivated by his dick. That's not. I just think that there's an important distinction between the Casey / Winnie / Ramona calls and the Debbie calls.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like Tiffany was on a mission to prove or disprove our suspicions. Things that wondering.
Right, but without any promise of anything in return.
Exactly, but in his mind, he's building up brownie points.
Well, of course, and that's how he's always going to be. But
where is Tiffany?
I'm right here.
Didn't yell at her.
she was gone.
Yeah, you guys were wishing I was gone.
Amanda James, did Lorne stand out to you when you first saw the show? Is this somebody? I'm not like he always stood out to me. Always, like I know if for some people he didn't, but he always stood out with me when I first watched the show, and I always repeated the same segment over and over again and watched it repeatedly, and then I realised there was a community around him. I was like, wow, I'm not a weirdo. Other people find him interesting as well. But do you remember any of that from when you first watched the show, or did it not happen like that?
No, I don't think so. His was kind of boring compared to like John Kennelly naked in the kitchen and Dustin with his razor. So no, Lorne didn't really stand out to me. I think I was a little bit disappointed because I heard that one of the predators was from Maine, but I didn't know which one. So I looked it up and figured it out, and I was kind of disappointed that it was Lorne because I thought he was kind of boring. And obviously I hadn't read the chat log or heard his phone calls with Kayla or any of that. All I had to go by was what I saw in the Sting. And he was just kind of goofy and boring, and it was funny that he cried, but he didn't stand out above other predators, no.
Does he now, though, to you?
Yeah.
So why is that?
Because we know so much about him, I guess.
We know a lot about other predators, and I find some of them incredibly dull.
Well, maybe that's it. Lorne is so much more interesting. Like, if the original people who set up the catfishing, if they had chosen someone, and they did Stanley, and I can't listen to that stuff, but I think Lorne is a unique combination of gullibility and desperate and stupid. So I don't know if that whole project could have worked with any other predator. I don't know if we would have gotten such entertaining content out of anybody else. So just knowing.
Look what he did when he came out of prison. Put himself in the limelight like that and defended himself and all that stuff.
Right. Right. No other predator went on YouTube and told ridiculous stories about macaroni and cheese.
That was definitely a highlight in the Lorne saga. Something that we don't really talk about that often. There's so many golden nuggets in this story, and that's what I wanted to sort of go into, really. I mean, you know, what I've been having conversations with Shin and Tiffany and that, and we were trying to see. That's the whole purpose of this stream, right? Because it's all been done before, but it never seems to get old. It's very strange, but. What the fuck is it that makes this guy so amusing? Why is this disgusting, despicable man so funny? What is it? If you look at it objectively and take the personality of Lorne out of the equation and write down on a piece of paper what he does and what he said in the chat log and the life he lives and how he looks and what he says to women, his personality, you would think that you wouldn't want to listen to that guy ever. You just want to get a baseball. Right, I won't go there. But you know what I mean? You want to do him harm. Why Why is this guy so funny? What the fuck is it? Anybody?
He's a fucking weirdo.
That's what makes it hard to explain to other people, like people in your real life who are like, what are you listening to? What are you talking about? You try to explain to them exactly what's going on with Lorne and why it's interesting, and they're like, you're weird. That's gross. Why are you watching that? That's unhealthy to think about that and listen to that. It's really hard to pinpoint what it is that makes him so fascinating.
But
I mean, isn't it kind of like the Truman Show, but if everyone hated Truman? Because he's just like this straight man character in his own play and he's so blissfully unaware, but he just plays the role perfectly, and you set it up almost like an improv scene where you don't have the actual script written, but you know at the end you want him crying or screaming, so you just set up different scenarios, and then he'll just take you down that path.
Yeah. I think also the strength of his delusion makes him really funny. Delusions, rather.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite.
I mean,
Lorne.
Here's the thing about it. And the other thing that makes it funny is everything he does is designed to portray an image that's going to be attractive to women. So everything he does, even in his own mind, his best person he can be, he's being. And like there's, this is what women want. They love men who love their mothers, men who love dogs. It's just that. And it's almost like watching an animal video where you don't have that, is this fake? Is this set up? No, it's real. And it took us to go to court for me to finally get it in my head that this is not just a reality show. This is real. That to me is the amazing part. And he does it to his detriment. Everything he does has a punishment to it. He goes to prison, a real prison.
Can I jump in here, Andy?
Of course.
Sorry?
Oh, I just asked if I could jump in here.
Oh, of course.
Okay. With me, it's the combination of the huge ego, plus the delusion, plus the lack of any kind of ability. And when we get back to the famous question that everyone likes to debate, whether or not he's a virgin, it really is the fact that he doesn't have any charm. He's not smart. He's not talented. He looks like an ogre, but at the same time, he only goes after the best-looking women. He went after a woman who he thought was the living embodiment of a Barbie doll. He went after a young supermodel black genius. And he never, quote-unquote, slums, nor would he. And that, plus the fact that he probably smells bad, is why he's going to remain a virgin.
You're definitely.
I think he sees him.
Oh, firmly. Oh, by the way, one other thing. For months now, I've been joking that I would never do a stream with Amanda James. And the reason for that is because any stream I do with Amanda James realistically will be her saying something and me going, yes, I agree, for 2 hours. We are just such on the same wavelength that she says something, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
It's just talking. I don't see.
It's a question.
That's a good impression.
Thank you.
I think ultimately when it comes to who Lorne is attracted to, I know that he's been presented with these women who are perfect. But I think when you look at the Winnie character, she is Lorne. On a very much more vocal and damaging way, like she'll burn the house down. But when it comes to that, he was very willing to accept a lot of her bullshit. He never really hung up on her. I mean, yes, he would, but he would always call back or wait for a call back. But she abused him in the worst ways. She wasn't particularly attractive according to the photos that were presented to him. And he was still all in. I mean, if Winnie was going to go up to Maine and meet him, he would absolutely marry her. I think all he's really looking for is someone that's going to accept him. Yes, he wants to have this beautiful woman, but when you think about even to the Nikki situation, this was a real person that he, I believe, brought over to a barbecue with his family and was basically introducing her as his girlfriend. He had a love interest in somebody who, as he says, it was a meth addict, I believe. Then it turned into she had black teeth and, she wasn't attractive. But the fact that she didn't run away, and he mentioned that that was one of the reasons why he was interested in her. She didn't run away from him when she knew his story. And of course, that's going to be a diluted story of how he's a victim in all of this. But I think most people, if somebody were to meet someone in a bar or whatever, and then they come out and say, oh, I was on To Catch a Predator. I was talking to who I thought was a 13-year-old girl. Well, I mean, immediately that conversation is going to end, I think, for most people. But you're going to have someone who is going to be willing to accept that, and that's all that Lorne is looking for.
I think they have to disclose that before they have a relationship. Not that they were To Catch a Predator, but they were on the RSO. I think there might be some requirement where that conversation has to take place. And if they stay, you're right. He loves it. That's what he wants.
Do you know, I've just had a thought in my head then, right? How funny would it be if we somehow got Lorne into a situation where he had to approach an attractive girl in a bar somewhere, wherever it would be, and just say, right, Lorne, go and chat that girl up, and then be privy to that conversation, like, like a hidden camera or something, just to see how he would go about it, like, like a proper woman, not some kind of, like, crazy character that, but like, I'd just be really intrigued. Like, what would he say about himself?
I honestly, Andrew, I don't think he'd be able to do anything. I think having that
a karaoke bar. If it's a karaoke bar, he gets his courage up. And
no, but
I don't even think that.
I agree with you, Clobber. If you would, sorry to sort of, but are you going to say that he wouldn't have the guts to do it? Is that what you can?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying it takes a lot more balls to do it online or over the phone than it does. Than it does in a bar situation.
Oh, of course.
I don't think. I think a lot of that self-confidence is all bravado, and I think, I mean, you saw how he acted when he walked in that Sting house.
His method to establish a relationship is to expose himself. So he'd look for an opportunity to expose himself to her somewhere in that bar.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously. Or soon after.
Walk in like, me, hi, I'm gonna be a country music star someday.
Yeah, I just don't think he has the. I don't think he has the self-confidence to actually approach somebody in a bar.
Well, no, it's like you said. Look at how he was in the Sting house. He went from being very dominant in those phone calls with Kayla to completely submissive to Casey, who made him sit almost like a dog, and he's just sitting there waiting for her. She was supposed to be ready to go, have all her stuff ready to go, come outside when he got there, and he came right in the house, sat down. She's sitting on the edge of a chair, and he's asking her if she's nervous while he was, probably shaking.
Right, and she was supposed to be a sure thing.
Yeah, you're right. I have a question, though. What do you think would have happened if Chris didn't come in so early? It looked like he was starting to get a little more, his feet under him a little bit.
See, I was asking
for the kiss.
No, I think asking for the kiss was the extent. That's him, bringing up everything that he has and asking her for that kiss just to get over his own nervousness because she was kind of standoffish with him. People think that he recognized immediately that she was a different person. I don't think he recognized any of that. But he did recognize that everything that he had talked about, this sexual fantasy, none of it was coming true yet. None of that stuff was happening. She wasn't wearing the skirt she was supposed to be wearing. And he needed something to, let's just bring it back to what it was. Can I at least have a kiss? And if she wouldn't have given him that kiss and she was still sitting there, I think he would have just had more awkward conversation until Kiss came out. The only thing that was missing from that is Chris should have had a fucking birthday cake. I mean, I think that was
good call.
I have a question. What do you think Lorne's next line would have been after he said, you can have a seat, and she said, I like to sit on the edge of chairs, and he said, do you? What do you think his next line would have been?
You can sit on the edge of this chair.
I think it would have been just more awkward small talk, what's going on the whole time.
sticking with that theory, yeah. But is there a chance that he would have done what Joanne said? Why don't you sit on the edge of this chair or something?
No, that's the Loverman Genius. That's a Loverman Genius tactic. Lorne didn't have that.
Right. That's right. That guy had game.
He was trying to entice her towards him, though, because, you know, are you going to have a seat too? So already it was on his mind to get closer to her. So even though she was the confident one in that situation, it was still a tactic that he was adopting, and he was still not necessarily confident enough, sinister enough, I'd say, to try and get his way with her. Do you get what I mean?
Or insist on going out.
I'll be honest here.
Oh,
Sorry.
Kenny's here. Hello.
K-Dog.
Hey. Yo! I'm alive.
Kennedy.
As if we
What's
could ever
up?
forget Kennedy.
Let's all be a...
Hey.
I mean, I'm pretty forgettable, guys. Come on.
How are you doing?
I'm very pregnant.
Congratulations.
That's how I'm doing. This is the first live stream I've been on since they found out. And but let's all be honest, Lorne probably would have just like started getting pissed if she wouldn't have sat down in the chair and like demanded her over to him. Because Lorne has a fucking hairline temper, and that's the person he is.
Yeah, a lot of people, comments have said that. He was starting to get maybe impatient. But I think Clobber might be right. He's okay with the long game.
Yeah,
Not
as
that
much as
long
I hate-
of a game. Oops,
Go
sorry,
ahead,
Tiffany,
Tiffany. Were you just about to agree with me? Please.
I was, and I really,
Yeah.
I feel nauseous right now. But I do agree that it would have been a lot of just awkward small talk. I think he did recognize that this was not the person he was talking to. She looks absolutely nothing like the photos. And he was analyzing those photos. He was able to distinguish that one of them had a little gap between her teeth, and he was wondering why those were different. But he was okay with the fact that they were not the same, even though she denied it. So I think that the only thing that saved it was the fact that she was outside waving him in. I think if she was just standing outside, he wouldn't have pulled in. He wouldn't have gotten out of the truck. The fact that she was like, hey, because she recognized him, that's what gave him the confidence. So the conversation about why there were different photos, why she doesn't sound the same, all of that was going to happen at one point. But he didn't really care. He just wanted to know, you know, okay, I'm here with this person. This is who they're supposed to be. And so hopefully, you know, that's going to be correct. But definitely that conversation was going to happen later on.
When you say he didn't want to go, he wouldn't have gone inside unless she was waving. Are you saying that the plan would have been for him to just have her go in his truck, or he would have just left?
No, I think that would have really changed everything, because she doesn't look anything like it. I think he would have been spooked by that, personally.
Oh.
Yeah, wasn't dressed alike or anything.
He would have thought it was Maria or something coming out of her house.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, his plan didn't exactly go as planned.
Right.
She was supposed to be ready, have the bag ready.
Yeah, she was
Right,
supposed to be outside waiting.
That's what I mean. When none of that,
You
when
know,
none of
and
that
she-
was. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go
No, go
ahead. Oh, when he asked, or when she asked, did you bring the condoms? You know, that should have been a telltale sign, because he talked about like how they were gonna just fuck when they got back to Memphis.
No, in the truck too, or something. Some nasty thing.
Yeah. Well, she was gonna give him head in the truck or something. I can't remember.
Right.
That. Yeah. It's awful. I try my best to block most of that chat log out.
Oh, I don't know. I kind of, it's imprinted on my brain, unfortunately.
That's where the magic is.
If I knew about like some kind of a philosophical document as much as what I know about the holy Lornography, I'd be a very rich person. Kind of ashamed.
Why do you think he sat there in the house and talked to her when the plan was to leave immediately and go straight to his apartment? Why don't you think he said, let's go, let's hit the road? Do you think he'd be nervous to sit there in her house?
Vagina.
Yeah, he wanted to lose
Right.
his virginity.
Yeah.
But he never seemed nervous at any point. Like when Casey said, when they interviewed her, and he said, he came in very proud, very excited. There was no hint of like any kind of fear. There was nothing.
He was
Was
so
there?
nervous. He was
Well,
so nervous.
He was nervous, yeah. I don't think he was afraid. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, like, you meet some girl that you've been talking to for 30 days, right? Like every day, and then you go to her house, and she like walks ahead of you, and you just follow her in. There was, like, he didn't try and go in for a hug on his own or anything. He was very nervous. Nothing was the way it was supposed to be. Like, I see nothing but nervousness in that guy, even from his questioning.
That's
Yeah,
right,
I
Wes. They
agree
were
with
supposed to hug first or something. They were supposed to immediately embrace.
Yeah, there was nothing. It was very cold, and so no, I think he was, even with his doya, the way he said it, like everything, he wanted her to sit down so they would be on the same level. Like that's why kings were on thrones, so that they were sitting above you.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's sitting in that chair, it's by design so that when Chris Hampton comes out, he's towering above this guy. But with Casey sitting on the edge of a chair, she was above him, which made it look like she was getting up to run.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe he still had his feet up when Chris came on.
Yeah,
I love that.
I understand that because
I picked up on that. Isn't it weird? Even until just before he got busted as well, his feet are still
He
there.
was frozen. He was
He was
frozen.
too scared to move, yeah.
Paralyzed.
Yeah.
Paralyzed.
yeah, frozen.
I mean, I feel like maybe I'm just looking at it differently as a black dude, but for me, I wouldn't jump because I thought Chris was a policeman and he's going to shoot me for making a move.
Oh, dude.
Move. You don't
No,
make
I'm being dead serious. So I would sit up with my feet. I would make no moves because I'm not trying to get shot because they think I'm reaching for a gun or trying to grab him or something. So,
But when Chris hands him the photographs, the images, he leans over to get it. He could have just put that thing down and just sat like a normal person. Instead, then he went back and forth and he had his feet up the whole time. It was just, fuck, dude.
Looking all comfortable.
It's like he's watching a movie. Jesus.
If I could jump in here for a sec.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry.
One thing I noticed that was so interesting about him coming in is it was very much, he was completely not assertive. He didn't go in for a hug. He begged for a kiss. He mentions it 3 times in 11 seconds. He never goes in for it. And she's totally guiding him and in control. And it's the exact opposite of how everything was supposed to be. Between her appearance and her clothes, he was scared. He comes in looking confident, but he absolutely was not.
He was pretty confident, or at least showed confidence in the first "Can I have a kiss" first. I haven't had a kiss first. And then after that, you see his confidence waning every time. And then it became a beg in the end.
Yes, he had a whine in his voice. Can I have a kiss?
I don't know if he was confident, Shin. He seemed a lot more like testing the waters or like, like being a flirty 12-year-old to me,
Yeah,
as opposed to showing any kind of confidence.
Shaking his head, trying to put on a facade. Let's put that.
Well, yeah, with that stupid look on his face. Kiss, yeah. Like even talking like that.
But he gives her
Let's
a
be honest, Club. We're both on the same level of Lorne was a virgin. Lorne has always been a virgin. And Lorne has the mentality of a 12-year-old. Me and you are on that team.
We sure are, Kennedy.
So, for this girl to be built like Casey at the time was built like a brick house. Like, she was sick with like 3 C's and a K. And, it wasn't the little 12-year-old that he had seen. So that's pretty imposing for a guy like Lorne who was expecting a little 12-year-old he could easily pick up.
I got an upgrade.
I think he was
Definitely.
I think he was really thrown off by her confidence. He wanted a scared little girl that he could control and sort of run the show with.
Definitely.
Do you know there's one thing that comes to mind with that little exchange with Casey? How he says, "It's good seeing you in person," and his head moves away as a kind of shyness. It's like, it's good to talk to you in person, and then it quickly transforms into Chris Hansen walking around the corner. there's like a sentimental part of him there, because in his own twisted brain he's related to Kayla, but only because it's himself that he was talking to. That's the extent of Lorne's relationships. They don't extend beyond his own mind patterns. He can't form real relationships with people because he lacks that kind of ability to be good to people, really. It's all around him, but I think there was a little part of him that was kind of like glad that he was finally meeting this person that he'd spent a month talking to. Because don't forget, in Lorne's world, he'd opened up to Kayla like he'd probably never done before. Well, I mean, we don't know to what extent the other victims, shall we say, but he didn't love this person because there's nothing to love, but in his own twisted brain, I think he thought there was something was going to happen with her. You know what I mean? He thought he'd got her where he wanted her, really, didn't he?
Definitely.
You know, he thought the fish had bit the hook, and then that was it. He got her exactly where he wanted, but there was just that little exchange where he went, "Oh, I like seeing you in person," and he moves his head away and can't look directly at her, like there's a little bit of a shyness, and I found that quite interesting. So I think he actually
there wasn't much,
that.
yeah, there wasn't much eye contact in the very beginning when he's walking in, and he had a lot. He was able to shift his focus to that stupid little remote control thing that he was using. He kept staring at that and talking, looking up there, and then when she finally settled into the arm of the chair, that's when he started looking at her. I mean, he was sneaking peeks every now and then up to that point. But you're right. When he talks, a lot of times he says something, then looks away. Says something, looks away.
And that's definitely
I need to
shyness
ask something.
Okay, go ahead.
Do y'all think, because he asked Casey why the seat's getting hot, do you think the entire time he was getting interviewed by Chris Hansen, his ass was on fire because he had the the heating part of the seat on? So, like, literally, his ass is probably, like, sweating the time that he gets up.
I wondered that too, or not necessarily about the heat function, but I wondered if he was getting a massage through the whole talk with Chris.
Yeah, he shut off the heat though. I thought when
Right.
the red button. Yeah, but the massage must have still been going.
I didn't know if he. So either he was getting a nice hot ass massage, which he probably got a lot of in prison, or he was just getting an ass massage.
Holy.
Yeah, I like to think that he was getting a massage the entire time Chris was raking up through the coals.
Isn't it amazing though? Like, you've got somebody who Lorne thought he was going to have the best time of his entire life. Everything that he fantasized for a month. Within an hour, he was inside a police station, like literally with a camera in his face.
I like Wesley's birthday cake. I like that. That would have been great.
In a split second, it went from his absolute best birthday ever to the worst day of his life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then that was I was going to say that was the start of his downfall, but if I'm going to be really mean, I think the start of his downfall was fucking as soon as he was born, to be honest. But
Yeah.
Literally regret the day he was born. He literally regrets the day he was born now.
Yeah, that's
really
the great thing. He can never celebrate his birthday ever again. Every year on his birthday, he's reminded of the worst day.
You know
of his
what's
life.
funny about that, though, Miss James? He wants to celebrate Codstock, though.
Oh, that's
he
right.
wants to celebrate his 50th birthday. He wants to sell tickets and have a big event. Like you would think, I would never go out on my birthday again if that happened to me one time. And
I changed my birthday. I would officially change it. Never think about that day ever again.
That event sold out, by the way. Completely sold out. So.
Could you imagine trying to go to Lorne's house with all the printers and shit in the front yard? The trailer of failure?
All I know is I'm going to Clobberstock. That's where all the merch is.
That's the place to be. That's the place to be.
Hey, Club, and now that I have you on the line, can I ask you to bump me up to the main stage at Clubstock, please? Have I proven myself?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You can get on the main stage, sure.
Yeah, all 4 people there will really enjoy it. So congratulations.
I would go to Clobstock.
See, why is Wes ruining Clobstock?
There'll be plenty of parking, and you guys will be able to social distance from 100 feet in between each other. No one's going to Club. Everyone's going to Comstock.
Lorne's not even going to be allowed to go to Codstock.
So I just, we were talking about Lorne's, where he could point to his life falling apart, but do you really not think a lot of that started with the Betty situation? Because, Lorne talks a lot about his septic business with a lot of pride, and you have to think that whatever happened, he went from having some business that he says was successful to screwing Betty over to running away from Maine with almost nothing, sleeping on a floor, no TV, and he's a telemarketer. And I'm sure he was just the worst telemarketer. And so his life had already been falling apart, so he couldn't go and talk to a woman. It'd be like that Seinfeld episode, "Hi, my name's George. I'm unemployed and live with my parents." He can't take anyone back to his place. He's really has nothing going for him. So talking to this 12-year-old, 13-year-old is like, she was like a therapist to him. And he was able to
Wes,
tell
I know
her.
you're gonna hate hearing, but Tiffany's actually the best person to answer that in terms of where it went all wrong and all this other stuff. She's. I know you hate hearing that, but sorry, keep going.
No, I don't. That's where it went wrong. I'm saying he could point to that as being, really the catalyst that led him to Nashville, which put him in driving distance from Bowling Green, was that he screwed Betty over, or he wouldn't have been in Nashville to begin with, and he wouldn't have been 60 miles from Kayla. He wouldn't have driven 300 miles. He didn't have the money for it.
And that's karma, isn't it? Because if he'd done the right
exactly.
thing,
that's what I mean. Him screwing Betty over
to realise that everything that he was doing and running away and screwing her over had only hurt him in the long run, and he still doesn't get that now. That's the ironic thing about the situation. Here we are, like fucking 15 years, 10 years later, whatever, after he scammed Betty, and he still doesn't understand the importance of mopping up your fucking mistakes.
Well, I mean, we all know that.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry. We all know that Gorilla Gwen babied him. Like, she just coddled him throughout his entire life. He did nothing wrong. He always, And it wasn't until he was too old to parent that she actually started trying to parent him.
I don't know if Mama Gwen. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, you go ahead.
I don't know if Mama Gwen babied him out of affection. I think she just kind of let everything slide because she was overwhelmed with so many kids. We know Lorne's father left when he was little. So she had all these kids, and it's hard to deal with issues head on. It's easier to just kind of yell and tell the kids to get out of your sight. And I think that's why Lorne was never really held accountable for the things he did.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it was out of affection. I think it was just Gwen was lazy, too.
Right.
I've seen a lot of parents where I live, which is not far from where Lorne actually lived. I could take a 3-hour car trip to literally go to the old apartment buildings where Lorne lived before the bust. That's just the way a lot of people are, is they just keep having babies, and none of all their babies are like little wild heathens. Like, you just see them out in the front yard, shirtless and shorts and no shoes on in the middle of November.
Yeah, I kind of get that impression that Mama Gwen didn't really pay a ton of attention to her kids, and they didn't have a lot of supervision.
Maybe that's why
just my guess.
She still mops up after him, because there's a little bit of guilt, maybe?
Maybe. I would certainly feel guilty if my son grew up to be Lorne. I would ask myself every day what I did wrong. I would feel guilty. Whether it was my fault or not, I would still feel responsible in some way.
Would you disown him?
I would disown my own child. I'm sorry, I'm pregnant right now, but if my own child was a sexual predator.
Your new one is. let's wait down the line.
Mother's Day, guys.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. That's really hard to say, but no. I don't know. I really couldn't answer that. Probably not.
Couldn't,
Yeah.
Amanda, until you would ever be faced with that situation, and then you'd have to look at it. You can't put yourself in that position because you'll never have a Lorne, luckily. But let's just say that there's some basically twist in the universe. You'd have to look at all of this. So you'd have to look back and say, right, okay, did I make mistakes? Okay, identify what they were. What they were. What has he done during his life? Has he really fucked up? Is he sadistic? Is he it's a very complicated issue, isn't it? Do you ever turn your back on your child?
It is very complicated, and my immediate feeling is no, not for anything, not for any reason. But if your child hurts other people, innocent people, I don't know. That's really hard to answer.
Put them away. I put them away.
It's very, very.
If your child tries to prey on another child, like a literal actual baby almost, like she was 12, 13, that's a baby basically. Like, I'm sorry, I would have to walk away from the situation and wash my hands of that child at that point.
I would turn them in.
Me too.
Yeah, I would turn them in.
Oh, of course. I would never enable, someone to hurt other people, no matter who it was. But I understood Tiffany's question to mean, like, would I completely cut him out of my life and not think of him as my son anymore? And
yeah, because I think that's definitely a difficult question, because a lot of people will look at Mama Gwen and the rest of the people in his life that are still in contact with him and say, how could you enable him to continue to be this person? And I do understand that a lot of the stuff that she has contributed to his continued thought processes and kind of allowing certain things to happen, allowing him to almost be okay with his decisions, that you have to move on, that type of a thing. How is it that you're just allowing him to be, again, the same type of a person who takes advantage of people, takes advantage of her, really, taking her car, not giving it back. He's well into his adulthood, and she still has to be his parent. So I think that, it is definitely an interesting question. There's no way that anybody is going to know for sure unless it were to happen, of course. So I do get that. But I think it's interesting to consider, especially from a parent, thinking from her perspective. You have this piece of shit guy who's your son. Do you just say, okay, well, you're on your own, dude? Like, you're a piece of shit, so that's it.
You have to consider the siblings too, the other siblings. I mean, if other siblings decided to disown him, which I think is much more likely, it's not a mother and son or a father and son, but that could happen. But if they see that their own mother is now enabling him, I would imagine that the mother has to concern herself with her healthy relationships with her healthy son, with his healthy siblings.
Definitely.
So Lorne is putting a wedge between them. And, so the mother is giving up the affections of more than Lorne. Now she's given up the affections of the other siblings who have a problem with her. So she's stuck. She doesn't really know what to do. And it's all Lorne's fault.
Well,
it's all Lorne's fault.
Well, we know that none of the kids are technically the best. Like, if we're just being critical.
Compared to Lorne.
Gwenzilla just kind of let them all run rampant, and they're probably all functioning alcoholics except for Lorne, who's just a non-functioning alcoholic child predator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Ralph and Lori do live in the future.
Yeah,
that's worth. So.
And to be fair, that's quite an achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to give credit for that.
You built a DeLorean in a fucking time machine.
Why wouldn't the mother worry about losing the affections of her other children who would disown her? Why wouldn't she be concerned about that?
No, that's too hard. I think that's too difficult to even consider. I mean, and it would be really selfish of the siblings to expect a mother. I would be really. I have a teenage son. I would be incredibly disappointed in him. But to ever think of disowning him, I would never support him. I would not enable him. I would not be giving him refrigerator hams, but he would always be my son. Mm-hmm. And for his brothers and sisters to expect his mom to just wipe the slate clean like he never existed because he's a disappointment, that would be incredibly selfish of them to do. So I
no, but what if they see her enabling him to her detriment, losing her money, losing her, all that stuff, draining her.
I completely agree with. But as far as to the question being, would you cut him or would you disown him? I hope they wouldn't expect her to disown him, but yes, they should be mad at her for allowing him to be a 50-year-old child, because it keeps him in that mindset where, he's just going to stay. He's going to be this way till he dies.
Yeah.
I stand by the fact that I would disown my child if they did something like Lorne did, because I would have to get into the mindset of, I need to protect my grandchildren from this monster. I guess it's because I grew up in the foster care system, and I've seen, and I've been in those situations where parents wouldn't get rid of the abuser in their child's life. So the kid went to foster care, and my immediate reaction would be, I'm gonna get rid of him. I can't have him around my own grandchildren. Just cut ties,
Yeah.
For my grandchildren's safety.
Well, they seem to have a very separate relationship, just based on what we've heard. Lorne and Roy seem to be the outsiders of the brothers and the sisters. So they sort of are together, and they had Christmas at Mama Gwen's. And then there's Paul, who's in there too. But I think when it comes to Ralph and Lori, and they don't have anything to do with Lorne at all. And you can hear that when they have different holidays happening and Lorne's not invited. So Mama Gwen has her own separate relationships with the other kids. And also Richard's in there too. They don't associate with each other.
From what I understand, I was watching some of the videos from TCAP Recipes, and Roy is the mayor of Cornville. Is that correct?
Of course it is.
Nice. So he's successful.
I hope so.
Yeah.
The honorable Roy Armstrong.
I thought a goat was mayor of Cornville. Is it Roy now?
Roy
they
is
don't
the
want to
goat,
make
yeah.
wiser decisions.
Yeah.
Tom Hunter's just made a good point in the chat. It's something that I sort of has mirrored me, really, is that when I first heard Mother Gwen in that famous call, the 3.5 hour Lorne call, which I believe is called Lorne is a Butthole, where he's on to Ramona, which is the pinnacle of Lornography, I think. I think Adam said that to me once, and I think he was right. There's so much rich entertainment within that call. But that 5-minute bit where he speaks to his mum, and she just goes, "Those people don't think you're so good. They're making a fool out of you." And it's like, she sees everything so clearly. And he's like, "Yeah, well, I don't care as long as they buy me t-shirts." And it's like, they're not going to buy you t-shirts, dude. She put him in his place, and the call ended with Lorne. Right, who's being disruptive, rustling around with crisps? Is that you, Shin?
No, I'm way over here.
No, it's me. It is me. I am eating an ice cream cone. Y'all leave me alone.
She's pregnant.
I'll mute
Right,
let her
just mute yourself, Kennedy, just for a couple of minutes, please.
It's funny how it goes right to me, huh? That's good.
You see, you just got shin bollocked for nothing then.
I'm sorry, Shin. I'm a fat ass.
I should have taken the heat. Sorry.
It's okay.
I fucking knew that was going to happen. And she's still not muted herself.
I did mute myself. You want to fight?
I hear you chewing.
And I've lost my concentration in the middle of a hoedown then. What the fuck was I going on about?
Oh, it was good, though. I can't remember either.
You were talking about Mama Gwen.
I was being defensive. All right.
Yeah.
It is my car, you know.
Oh, yeah. The great. There we go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can't remember exactly where, but
I think you were going on where it kind of sounded like the Adam Sandler. They're all going to laugh at you. He's like, they're all going to laugh at you, and he just kept the call kind of ended with, and he was expecting her to really back him up. and he was going on in that route, I believe. So
yeah, it was basically
right, yeah.
to Tom's point, where Mama Gwen seems to be the only person who has any foot of in reality in that family at this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
He said the most horrible thing to his mother at the end.
Yes. Because
About her.
that
Yeah.
5-minute call with his mum highlighted what we'd kind of theorised already, that he didn't give a shit about her. That this overinflated sense of loyalty to his mother didn't exist. It was all about him. I will give him a bit of leeway with regard to the fact that he was intoxicated, because, you know, it does. What I will, and it's not like I'm, you know, like I have a sort of trying to back him up or anything. Of course, I would never do that. But of course, when we are a little bit intoxicated, we do have a tendency to behave like pricks. But the thing is, with Lorne, he behaves like a prick anyway. So, but that he wasn't that drunk, and I think that's kind of what's in his heart anyway. If he has one, he the way he was talking to his mother was disgraceful, wasn't it? You know, his
Just to be
siblings are
clear,
pieces of shit and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, but just to be clear, at the very end, he said he was comparing Ralph and Lori, who I can't remember if they live in the future or they don't live. I can't remember where that was.
Can't live in the past. There's too many people over.
But then he threw the parallel in. Ralph and Lori are just like your ex-husband, and that was like, you can hurt. It just hurt her. You can hear her, and that's where the call ended. And I'm thinking that was a low motherfucking blow. We know what happened with Dale. We know that Dale married somebody in the family. I think it was Roy's ex-wife. Who knows? I have no idea what the situation is. But all that shit must have still hurt her. And he went right for it and just scraped off that scab and opened up that wound again. Why would he do that to his mother?
Because he doesn't want the attention on himself. She's telling him about himself, and he doesn't want to hear it. That's the way that he reacts anytime that happens. So he's always wanting to push it off onto someone else. So he's going to talk about his brothers and his sister, and she's pointing out, you tried to buy their love. And then he starts going off, and that's exactly what he tried to do.
That's right.
Not even necessarily their love, but he wanted to buy their envy, because he, just like he has always said all this time, that he really envied them. He looked up to them. He put them up on a pedestal, and he idolized them. And he wanted the same to come back to him, and it never did. And he was so desperate for that to happen. And when it came financially, when they needed some help with things, he had the money at that time. Who knows how he got it? Betty was not the first person that he screwed over.
Yeah. Yeah. Even in the chat log, you just reminded me of something that I always thought was significant. When he was going through his woes with his brothers and his siblings to Kayla, which is a weird thing to begin with, he basically said at the very end, well, I'm going to, I can't wait for the day when they come and they need something from me. And I say no. And that's always been his motivation, to be in a position to fuck them back.
Exactly.
I was gonna say real quick, if I talk to my mother the way Lorne talks to his mother, I'd be picking my jaw up off the floor. Now, my mother is not a violent woman. She's a very sweet woman, in fact. But I know for a fact that my mother would probably have smacked the shit out of me if I ever spoke to Lorne the same way the same way Lorne speaks to Gwen.
Yeah, but don't forget, he
never treats her. My mom would drive to where I was at and smack me. She's just that kind of person. You don't know. Like, I could never see her again in person, because the next time I did, she'd smack me for it.
But then again, I've never heard my mother throw out F-bombs either. So it's kind of a weird
Oh, I've heard my mom throw an F-bomb at me.
Yeah.
But I deserve that one.
I mean, just the way he talks to his mother, it's weird, about her sexual life and stuff.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I guess sorry, what were you going to say?
I'm just going to pick up on something someone said in in the chat, Johnny Utah has asked he's interested to hear what everybody thinks happened at the fair. Now, just in case, just so we're all on the same page, victim number one, who was his, we don't like to mention the name, although someone has in the chat. I mean, it's no big secret, we just don't like to mention it. Victim number one was supposedly going to meet Lorne at the fair. And I think you theorised with regard to that, Shin, that he was stalking her.
Yeah, but Tiffany should give the background though. She got it out of him. So if anybody's not aware,
it's just a nice little theory we like to put together. We like our little Lorne theories, don't we? You know what I mean?
Love them. Yes. I mean, we have to have them too because we're never going to get the real story, at least not all of it. So I think most people probably know what happened, but just to give a little summary, he was speaking again on the internet with a real girl who happened to be 14 at the time. He said that he met her in a country music chat room, and she's the one that approached him. I don't believe that at all. I think that he absolutely approached her just in the same way that he did with Kayla. And they had a chat. There was webcam stuff where they were exposing themselves. He certainly, I think we can all agree that he probably had the same type of a conversation with her as he did with Kayla. Certainly it's going to be a little bit different because she was a real person. It was probably more conversational, but he does explain that she had a lot of problems at home. She had an alcoholic dad that she was dealing with. Talks about being in a new school and feels a little uncertain when it comes to having friends. And so he did a lot of the same things that he did with Kayla. He was drinking very heavily. He would want her to be on the phone all the time. And they made plans to meet. The way that he explains it is that they wanted to just see each other. Even though they were seeing each other on their cameras, he explains it that they wanted to see each other in person. They were supposed to meet at this fair that was happening, and she was going to be there. He was going to be there too at the same time. They weren't going to speak. They weren't going to interact with each other at all, but they were going to be there. And I guess that was supposed to prove some point. He says that it didn't. He says that it didn't happen. He said that she had called the hotel or the motel where he was staying because he did drive up there. Unfortunately, he had an accomplice with him, his buddy Tony, and drove up there. And also just to make note too, Tony was very much aware of what they were doing, who he was talking to. So they go up there. He says that she tracked down the motel where he was staying, said she made a mistake. It actually had never happened, or the fair, she said it was the following day. She made a mistake with the date. So they weren't going to be able to meet up with each other. Of course, that raises the question, why wouldn't you make arrangements to go somewhere else? If you're not going to talk, if you're not going to interact at all, why wouldn't you just have her stand outside at McDonald's or something and drive by? Why does it have to specifically be at the fair? And he never had an answer to that as much as he was pressed for it, because obviously I tried to ask as much as possible and try to get him to say what happened. Why are you unable to say why you wouldn't figure that out?
Tiffany, was there a double date situation for Tony mentioned in that at all?
I really don't know. He was there. She was going to be there with at least one friend. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was a double date because one of the things that he had said as well when it came to Tony, I think he was asked at one point, well, were you nervous about Tony being there? Would she be interested in Tony? And he just kind of laughed like, no, he's ugly. So I don't think I don't think that he was necessarily going to be involved in that way. I don't think that Lorne would ever imagine that her friend would be interested in Tony. Her friend could probably be interested in him though. So that's kind of a loose theory when it comes to the double date situation, but I'm not really sure that it happened. So what I'm thinking when it comes to what do I actually think happened, I think that they did meet each other. She knew where he was staying. She could have made arrangements to go there but of course it was going to be based on what she wanted to do because he didn't know where she lived. He didn't have her phone number. but she had made contact with him. And I don't think that he would have driven all of that way in order to just turn around and have
Can I ask you
nothing
a question
happen.
real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that he asked her where she lived and asked her for her phone number?
For sure.
Okay. And so we do know that she didn't give it to him. So
he did not have it. Yeah, he definitely didn't have it. Now, do we know exactly what happened? No, because we're not privy to that conversation. But it certainly would make sense that he would. I mean, because he was when you think about when it comes to Kayla, he was saying, don't ever give any information out to anybody on the internet. But then he also says, well, if you want me to come and see you, I'm going to have to know where you are.
Yeah. But she never got to that point where he even knew where she lived. I mean, so this girl, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
was smart enough to not give him that information. And there's a reason.
Yeah.
She was either scared or she didn't trust him. Whatever it was, there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Or she didn't want her friends to find out or anything. Whatever it was, he didn't have
Yeah,
it.
sure. Mm-hmm.
So the only way he had to see her, I believe, is to know where she was going to be and be there at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Or have her go to him wherever.
That's never going to
wherever
happen. You know that. I mean, she's 14. I mean, that's 3-hour drive too, by the way. Right?
Well, yeah, no. I'm talking about when they're in the same town.
Oh, yeah.
And she's talking to him at the motel. Yeah, I mean, she certainly could have made her way over there at one
point.
Well,
that's another fact. She never went over to see him.
Well, that's what he says.
Okay.
Who knows what really happened?
I hope he's right. I really hope he's right about that.
I hope he's right, too. I really do. But the fact is that when he returned back home, he was still in contact with her. He was still in contact with her when he went to Nashville, according to him.
Yeah.
Because she was going to go down and, visit or whatever. And they were going to see if something was going to happen then.
Could she have saw it for what it really was, just an internet relationship, chat buddy, and that's all she saw it as?
May I just interject a second? We know that victim number one was a vulnerable girl for various reasons of what she said about her parent. I think her father was an alcoholic, is that right?
Yes.
And we know that that's the kind of people that Lorne and people like him seek out. People like that are very...
the clock.
Sorry?
That was my clock goes off. I'm sorry about that. Sorry.
People like that are kind of are more receptible to have any friends that they can because they feel like they need some kind of moral
acceptance
support. So that they're basically less what's the word I'm looking for? Less discriminatory when it comes to having friends. You know what I mean? So she will have been kept in contact with him despite his behaviour might have been appalling. He might have gone completely out of his way to get his wicked way with her. But she, at that point, might have just stayed friends with him. I suppose what I'm trying to say is it doesn't necessarily give any indication of his behaviour. And the problem is with hearing his version of events is we know that Lorne makes up his own narrative when it comes to anything. Look
Definitely.
at his version of events of the lawsuit. You read the lawsuit and what he says happens what happened at the Sting House and in the chat compared to reality. So if you take that same twisted reality and apply it to the victim number one situation, it was probably you understand what I'm getting at here? We've got very little to go on.
It was all in his head. It was all in his head.
Oh, definitely. And the thing is too is that when he's telling this story, he makes it that both of them wanted this. They wanted to see each other.
Yeah.
So I mean, he doesn't. Again, he doesn't see himself that this is a 14-year-old girl and he's in his 30s.
Children could fall in love.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, that was amazing. So I would really, everybody pretty much knows my theory about what happened. I'd like to know everybody else's.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it was clear. I think it was clear that he was going to. He wasn't going to drive 3 hours just to look at this girl. I think we all know Lorne a lot better than that. Something definitely was going to happen. Now, whether it was, I don't know. Lorne was there for a reason. He wouldn't have drove there just to look at her.
I agree. As timid as he was, he would have tried something. He would have been like, I drove all this way. Yeah, something.
Well, what do you think the plan was, guys? What do you think the plan was in reality? Did they both agree to it? Was she expecting him, or did he just go up on his own? Or, let's start from the beginning. What made him? What lit a fire under him to get up there?
Well,
or not?
See, my thing is vagina. What makes Lorne do anything is vagina.
Young vagina. But I'm just wondering, was this a mutual plan, do you think? Or do you think this was a unilateral plan?
Can Tiffany answer?
I think it might have.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think what happened was they had maybe made plans to meet up, but her dad maybe logged onto her computer. Some male figure in her life logged onto her computer. Maybe he did go to that fair and he probably got his ass whipped, or maybe this guy just called around to different motels till he found Lorne Armstrong, because he probably checked in underneath his fucking name like a dumbass. And like called him and threatened him. So it might not have even been her. It might have been a male figure in her life that
As far
sorry, Tiffany, go ahead.
Sorry. As far as how it started, I do think that they would have agreed at some point to go and see each other. Of course, it would have been his idea. I don't buy that it would have been hers at all. So when he says we wanted to see each other, I mean, they were doing that already on their webcam, so it doesn't make a difference. So I certainly do think that it was his idea to do that. So I think that's where it all started. He wanted to go up there. He wanted to actually meet this person that he was talking to.
I don't think she was in on it. I don't think she was in on it.
I don't think, well, I can understand that too. I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if he were to come out with that, but I don't think that it was something that she was completely unaware of, that he was just going to show up there. And she wasn't going to be aware that he was going to be there. I don't think that was true.
I'm starting to. I think I might be coming towards Shin's way of thinking. The reason being, this tale of his that we were just going to see each other and not speak to each other is fucking weird. That's not something that was agreed. We can all agree on that, can't we?
Yeah, I don't think that was ever part of the plan to just look at each other.
Yeah. So, in other words, he lied about that deliberately. That isn't something that you would get. That isn't something that you would just get confused about, and you have like a gap in your memory, and you fill an untrue blank in. That is a deliberate lie. So why did he lie about that? Because
he did it over and over.
He wants to cover up the truth. Now, what would have been something that he didn't want someone to know? That was probably that he went there with a specific plan, or that they'd agreed something. It could. Can we categorically say that nothing physical happened between them?
No,
I don't think so.
No.
It's a disturbing thought, and maybe we should not go there. But
I would have.
I don't think it did, because this is, and I know that this might sound like a contradiction in terms, because I'm giving credit to Lorne's weight. When there was he got upset during the Ramona call in the hilarious moment when he goes, "I'm not a fucking sex offender," which obviously is hilarious. He went, "I've literally never done anything to a kid." He said that. He wasn't lying at that point. When
yes, he was.
Yeah, no, he was lying. He was lying, Andrew.
He never considered.
He was bold-faced lying.
I don't think he.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I don't think he ever considered victim number one a victim or a kid. Yeah. He saw her as like an ex-girlfriend, someone who is very special to him. Mm-hmm. So when he said, "I've never hurt a kid, I've never done anything to a kid," he's thinking of, a little child. And victim number one in his mind wasn't that.
Yeah, they were in love.
I don't think right.
But I believe though that if he would have gone through with the physical act, he will have, even him, would have known at that point that would have been something despicable, and I think he would have been even if he would have gone through in it, he would have been even more. This is the theory. He would have been even more disgusting in the chat log with Kaylee. It would have been a different and even more disgusting level of perversion. That's my theory.
Well, look what Minnie said. Look what Minnie she said. But then again, Lorne does do weird stuff like that. Like, I just want to spend time with you on the phone on Christmas, even though we won't be able to actually talk to each other. I want to just listen to you while you sleep. They did that, by the way. That kind of thing. All on his insistence, but he can satisfy just weird stuff like that. So
he lies though. We know that he lies all the time, and in fact, he will say, "I never spoke to anybody underage except for that decoy," and we know that that's not true. Yeah. And it goes even further than that when we know about all the victims.
I just perceived that particular rant of his that he actually believed he was telling the truth. Like Amanda said, it may be. I do agree with you there, Amanda, about he didn't necessarily equate victim number one with being a child in the way that we would.
Every time Tiffany pushed him, like, why would you do this? Why? What's the point? What's the point? It was always the same answer. We both agreed. I don't know. It was something we both talked about. It was something he kept pushing that point over and over and over. I think that's a telltale sign of a big lie right there.
Well, it's very Jeff Sokol-like, in the way that you look at it as, well, back in the day, you could be 14 and get married. You would get married to a fully grown man. So if you can fall in love at that age, age is just a number according to R. Kelly. He doesn't want to kill anyone, as far as I know.
I think in Lorne's mind, they were more peers. He wouldn't put himself in the role of the adult and her in the role of the child, and therefore he's responsible for everything, no matter what she said or did. He saw her more as a peer, like a girlfriend.
Absolutely. He says that she was special, and so I agree with your point there that he doesn't see this person as a victim. He doesn't see the other person who went to his house when his cousin was there as a victim. He doesn't see any of that. And just like when you point out to him, you're an attempted rapist, and he gets really offended by that because he says, no, I'm not. I would, I've never hurt anybody and I wouldn't do that. But the fact is that you are, that's exactly what you're doing. He thinks that because someone is compliant, just the way that Kayla was compliant and this other person, was compliant, whoever he was talking to, was making it seem like they wanted this, that he doesn't see it as the same thing.
A lot of predators did that. The first thing they'd say to Chris Hansen or the police was, I would have never forced her to do anything.
Dustin did that, didn't he?
Right.
Yeah. She wanted me to come
here. Interrogation technique. That's an interrogation technique they used on what is that, wolf and bearskin or whatever that is, and they also used it on Jim Roush, where they said, well, let's break it down. We don't think you're a bad guy. We don't think you're violent. We don't think you would have done anything to hurt her. We don't think you would have done anything if she said no. No, of course not. That's when they fall into that trap. Of course I wouldn't hurt her, but that's I'm just trying to think about what Kennedy said about how he thinks of them as kids that age as peers, and I'm trying to think of myself as, in my 30s, and then going out with my friends and maybe go bar hopping or something, and when we start picking up friends at houses, and then I pick up a 13-year-old kid and put him in the back, and they say, "Who's this?" And I say, "Oh, it's my friend Billy." Billy's a kid. He can't go. What are you talking about? Is he somebody's kid? No, he's my friend. What do you mean your friend? Dude, it would be weird.
The thing, no, it would be. And he knows that it was weird. He knew that they couldn't actually interact with each other in public. And he even makes mention of that as well when he's talking to Kayla. Oh, I guess you can't tell them you have a 36-year-old boyfriend. That sucks. So he knows that they can't publicly be out. You're not going to go swing by and pick her up at her house. But in secret, he's going to think they have a real relationship going.
And she talked about that with you, too, didn't she, Jeff? Where he said, oh, I'll see you at the fair. But we can't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Look at his MySpace friends. They're all kids.
Right.
I have a question for y'all.
Just one sec. Lala Grace has just said, I think the potential to always see you good in people is colouring your opinion is very much a liar. I never said he isn't a liar and that he doesn't lie and he isn't delusional. I think the point of what I'm trying to say has been missed a little bit. At that point, my opinion is when he went on that rant, I'm not a fucking sex offender. I think there was a little bit of truth. Of course he lies, that's his nature, but there will be occasions when liars tell the truth, and on that occasion I think he was telling the truth. For what it's worth, I don't believe he's physically had a physical relationship with a child. I'm not saying it's because he didn't want to. I personally think he went to the fair with that intention, and that's the old idea.
He was stopped. That's why he didn't have. He's not a
what stopped him? Did he freak the girl out? Did he come on too strong? Did he? He went all that way with.
Well, can I ask real quick, Andrew? Tiffany, he had flashed her at some point. Was that before the fair?
Yes.
So then the promise of sex to him was already there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be just as likely that he would tell her, "Oh, I'm doing some work in that area," so like around the time of that fair. And he would get a hotel room with the hopes that they would meet up, that they could meet up, and maybe she would come back with him. But to your point, I think even if they did have sex, he wouldn't believe that he was having sex with a child. He was having sex with his girlfriend.
That was my point. Yeah.
Child 5 years old or 6 years old. He doesn't see a teenager who can make these decisions about love and, like they make romantic comedies with teenagers. Like to him, this girl was in love with him, so he never had sex with a child. He had sex with his girlfriend, and people who have sex with children are gross to him.
That's exactly how he would categorize it in his own mind to make it okay, Wes. I agree. He would just say, "Oh no, it's different."
Yeah. I wonder how many John Hughes films he has.
What's the general consensus? Do we believe that he did do something with victim number one?
No, I don't.
I think he did.
Really? Like a physical act?
Well, yeah, because look, Andrew, I think if he wasn't successful with that, he would have been concerned at least a little bit about Kayla being a decoy of some sort, and he never was, because I think he was already successful with it once, or at least once.
Well,
so in his mind, if he did do something physical with this, this person number one, victim number one, it would embolden him to believe that Kayla was exactly who she said she was. Even when he thought the pictures weren't her, he didn't think like, is this a setup? It was, are you catfishing me? Are you like not really this girl? But he wasn't concerned about the police or anyone. It never came out of his mouth. I don't think it ever crossed his mind because he had already been successful with it at least once before.
Yeah.
I think we have to look at it like a classic escalation, because I think he was going to kidnap Kayla. Like he says, he didn't have enough gas to get there and back like twice. So like he would have had to have done something at least once with somebody else, maybe not necessarily the first victim, but somebody else along the way to classically escalate to being okay with kidnapping a child, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think too, when it comes to just what you were saying, Andrew, like he wasn't lying when he said that. I think it just goes to show the way that he's able to justify facts in his mind to say that I never did that. And that's how he validates the things that he does, and he's able to live on those types of technicalities so that he can do things. Yeah.
Of course, I agree. I agree with that. Completely. I just don't think on that occasion, for what it's worth, piecing together what I've heard him say, the evidence that we've got, I don't think he actually did anything with her. I think the chat log would have been even more sinister had he have already done something along them lines. That's just my opinion.
Isn't that how grooming works, though? You can't treat... That's how grooming would work, though. You wouldn't... It's not all a one-size-fits-all. That's why these guys work on it for so long.
Oh, of
You're
course, but he got to a place in that chat log where he thought he was home and dry. He thought he could do and say anything in that chat log.
When I say I don't think he did anything, it doesn't mean I didn't. It doesn't mean he didn't want to do anything or would have done anything. I think
nobody's denying that.
Yeah, when it comes to him, I think he's just a failure at everything he does. I don't think that.
I agree with Shin on this.
I don't think he'd have been able to actually charm her enough.
I think she backed out. I think if nothing happened, it's because I think she got freaked out and ran.
I think she might have got scared.
He would have been up for it.
Yeah, he would have come across, even to a vulnerable child, he will have come across as creepy.
And I'm
thinking
afraid of him. To a certain extent. I mean, it's weird that she then started communications with Tony. It's almost like a support system for her. You could interpret that like that. But I think that he was just moving aggressively too fast. I mean, you got to remember when he first met her, she had just broken up with her boyfriend, right? And he needed to, plant his flag before she got another one. So in a sense, he's on the clock. He's got to move. I think he was moving a lot faster for her and was kind of scaring her or concerning her. But at the same time, when nothing happened after a while, she might have, loosened up or something. But I don't think. I think when he went up there, that was a scary moment for her. Otherwise, she would have made an attempt to be seen if that's what she wanted.
I think she did. I think she was seen.
Sorry.
I think they originally planned to meet at the fair. I think that was true. I don't think they planned to actually speak. I do believe they just planned to look at each other. But immediately following that, after the fair, I think the plan was for her to go to his motel room. And I think she knew where he was staying because he told her. And I think she went to his motel room and saw him there. And I hope nothing happened. But if nothing did, I believe it would be because she got scared.
Yeah, I think we're giving him too much credit.
I'm not saying that he didn't do anything with her, but if he did, again, this is a classic case of escalation. He was okay with basically kidnapping Kayla Marie. So from what we know about his first victim to Kayla Marie, he had to have had contact of some kind, maybe kissing or groping or something of another person of some
that we don't
form
even know about. That we don't even know
that
about.
was underage that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that he wasn't capable with the first one, but I am saying that between those two, something had to have happened to embolden him, like everybody said, to be okay with having sex with a child. You don't just dive off the deep end one day and try to fuck a kid.
As far as I know.
I'm pretty sure you don't.
Yeah, I think that's a safe.
I don't know anybody who's woke up one day and it's a pretty safe bet.
But
as far as I know, I've never met somebody who just woke up one day.
Gotta watch out for those female powers. They're devastating.
if you're gonna apply,
I don't think I have to worry about that.
We've not even mentioned that he's susceptible to female powers. I mean, we're not really giving him. We're not giving him any leeway here. I think we need to be a bit, a bit easier on him.
And he and Tony unintentionally drove up there too. So. They just couldn't find an exit, but because the medium, they couldn't see, it was dark. They couldn't turn around.
He unintentionally traveled.
I'd like to turn with this stream a little bit on the more comical side, kind of trying to all of us say what some of our favourite Carnival quotes and moments are. Maybe a quote like one of his Lorneisms, and then maybe one of the best comedy moments, because there's so many and everybody's got a different one. That's what's so good about it. It's better than a comedy series, isn't it? It's almost like coming up with your favourite Simpsons sort of joke. There's just too many. But we'll talk about that for a bit. Because there's so many.
Yeah, I think my favorite is probably the favorite line now is probably the latter proverb. You know, the don't you ever try to climb a goddamn ladder that you can't accept that you didn't fucking earn. I think that's my favorite. That's my new favorite Lorne quote.
Wow.
What the fuck was he trying to say in that?
That's why it's my favorite, because he lost his way halfway through that sentence and just started saying words.
It reminded me of David Brent in The Office when they're saying, "What would be your motto?" When he's saying, "If someone comes in, make sure they don't end up as good as you." It's like, what the fuck is going on about?
Yeah, he went full Michael Scott.
Like, my favorite moment will always be the reason he tried to rape a 13-year-old was the mac and cheese and meatballs. It's just the way he says it is the same way my 7-year-old sister says, like, the reason I pulled her hair was because she was irritating me. Like, it's just so, like, I don't know, just the way he says it just cracks me up.
When I first heard that, I thought it was a joke. I couldn't think it was a joke. I couldn't believe it was on. I didn't know it was going to be on that long. I didn't think it was going to stay up either. A pedophile trying to gaslight the public to justify his actions. I thought, how's YouTube going to keep this up? And one of the
keeps
things
everything that it's not supposed to up.
Yeah, I remember one of the things I kept saying was screaming at the TV is, "Did you read your fucking chat log? Did you read your fucking chat? Please read your chat log." That's what that was my wish list back then, and then Tiffany gave it to us.
I think one of my favorite is when he, and this is in a Ramona call, and I think there's so many really funny lines that he has in there. But I guess this was when there was a video of Ramona having this Ramona's sex tape, basically, and he learned that she was having anal, and he's like, "So he fucked her in the ass."
That's a cracker.
Yeah, it's the way that he says a lot of things that really make it funny. For most people to just say that, it's
he has
more
a great
comical
delivery.
Than he does. He really does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, mine was when he is talking to Debbie. I think it's Debbie, and he says, "Yeah, but you like bad boys," and it was such a defeated. he was trying to explain why he's why he's an alcoholic, and it was because Debbie likes bad boys, so he's going to try and impress her by drinking a whole bunch, and it was just the way he delivered that line. He was so sad, and it was pretty hilarious.
I'm going to piggyback on what
It
Wes
reminds me of.
because excuse me.
It's fine.
Is,
I was just gonna say it reminds me of that Tinder quote, because I've been married for about 3 years now, but I remember Tinder being like one of the bio things would be, "Do you like bad boys?" Well, I'm bad at everything. That's just Lauren's motto in life.
I was going to say, piggybacking off what Wes said, one of my favorites is, "I only drove drunk because I know you love bad boys." So some guys, buy a motorcycle or a leather jacket or something, but he's like, no, I'll endanger myself and other people to impress my fake girlfriend. That is, only Lorne would come up with something like that.
There's so many, first of all, and there's big ones and there's little ones, and sometimes the little ones add up to something really cool, really big. And one of the little ones that I love is his mailbox story. I love that story. I love that precious fucking mailbox. I love that story because I can imagine him just like grabbing that mailbox and just hugging it. It's mine. I'm not going to let anybody have it. But it showed so much about him that it's hilarious.
So Shin, do you think he pulled the whole post out of the ground, or did he?
I don't know. I often wonder.
I want to know if it was like an anger thing and he ripped it out of the ground, or if he got a screwdriver out of the back of the truck and he unscrewed it and and he wrapped it in a towel and placed it next to him on the passenger seat.
All I know is
Let's
whoever bought that
be
house.
real.
What happened?
Whoever bought that house could have come back and see this stump sticking out of the house. It was a fucking mailbox.
Let's be real. Lorne's not strong enough to rip a post out of the ground.
Yeah, where's the mailbox? I'm not going to buy this house without a mailbox. It's going to hold up the whole deal.
It's worth mentioning as well, like, it was brought up in the video we did a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to find that old video that me and Adam did where he freaked out at his own Facebook, he freaked out at his own post. So someone copy and pasted a segment from the chat log in his own YouTube channel, and he just had a fucking proper meltdown and went on a massive long rant.
Thank you so much for putting that video back up, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was so funny because it was just, he was going on saying, "You people are disgusting." That's exactly what he wrote. So he was completely raging at his own comment. It's like, "You people are disgusting." It's like, dude, it's like a dog chasing his own tail, like consistently biting it. He's completely insane.
Oh. Just having a camera follow him around, I bet you would be the best reality show ever.
It would be like the Tiger King almost. It would just be white trash of America documentary. Because I don't know a lot about Cornville, Maine, but I can imagine it's almost as bad as where I live in Mississippi.
I'd be interested in seeing all his interactions with like the public, like Walmart employees. What happened? The 10-mile yard sale. How he is in all those settings. How does he interact with people? Do people stay away from him?
I don't think anybody associates with him. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think anybody associates with him. They all know that he's a fucking sex offender and don't want their children near him. But they're all probably as white trash as he is. I would probably assume.
Amanda, do you know the area well? Have you been out there?
No, I've never been to Cornville. No.
You almost went with us. We almost got you a job.
I know. Okay. I wish I did. Next time I will. Definitely.
Next time he's in prison, I think there's going to be next time he's in court, I think we're all going to be there.
Hell yeah.
I'll try to be. I'll try to be there, even if it's baby and tow.
Probably not best to take an underage person near Lorne, but
I'll just use the baby as cover to record.
But yeah, the mac and cheese video is a highlight. There's so many highlights, but that I remember when I watched that for the first time, and at that point I thought, it's all made up. He's had us all along. It was all a joke all along. He's taking the piss out of us, this guy. I honestly believed it. I thought there's no way any human being can be that delusional. And at that point, I thought, it's all been a publicity stunt. He's fucked it. He's had us all along, because I thought, he's just, you know what I mean? It was like, he actually made a video and blamed not getting a certain meal for the fact that he tried raping a kid. Have you ever heard anything as ridiculous?
God, I just remember watching it for the first time and picking my jaw up basically off the floor because I was just like, it's a troll. It's a joke. He's got to be kidding. And then I realized, because I came into pretty late in the game, that it wasn't a joke. He was serious. And so, but I just remember laughing at first because I was like, he's got to be joking. But it's just, I could not imagine trying to blame my failures in life for not getting mac and cheese and meatballs and deviled eggs.
Clobber, you kind of have some experience with some of these cows.
Yeah.
And I know the Chris Chans and I wasn't really familiar with that that kind of material before until Lorne. How does Lorne stack up with those other guys?
Lorne's the king of the lol cows, man. Lorne is the most deserving of all. First of all, you got to put it like that. Like a lot of these people, like your Amberlynn Reeds and your Chris Chans and your Darkside Phils, people like that. They're really just shitty people. But Lorne is, I mean, for Christ's sake, he's a registered sex offender. Is there anybody who deserves the lol cow treatment anymore? And he brings it.
I don't know about that, Claude.
I would argue no.
No, of course not. And he brings the funny all the time.
I would argue there's because
he is karma and
I would
comedy.
argue, Claude. There's a guy I found because I was bedridden for almost 3 months of my life who faked being a mercenary for the government, the U.S. government, who's almost as bad as Lorne because I'm pretty sure he's a child predator too. He just added stolen valor to it.
Well, but Lorne is pretty sure is different than Lorne is an actual registered sex offender who has at least 3 potential victims and a chat log that's 400 pages long. So,
and the fucking cooking show. Let's not forget that then he came out of prison, and after he was telling Kayla he couldn't cook shit, but then he's like, "What should I do on YouTube? I know, a cooking show." Like, who does that?
And don't forget the workout video.
I mean, like, he just ran the gamut of really bad ideas. I mean, he would have been doing, like, LuLaRoe shit and Etsy and everything else. Like, I'm so sad he can't be on Twitter. I would love to see Lorne Armstrong and how he would handle Twitter.
Well, yeah, and he was wanting to sell T-shirts, too. He wanted to sell his guitar. He wanted to sell T-shirts.
Used underwear as well, Clobber.
Used underwear, yeah.
Signed. He was going to sign them.
Yeah, to be fair,
what
it was
about
signed.
the guitar? Do you remember the guitar that he put on eBay?
Sure.
And someone
$1,000
worked out it was more expensive than a Dolly Parton signed guitar. Fucking truth. It was on there for something silly, like hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands.
Yeah, I think it was $1,000 actually.
Do you remember that wallet, that half wallet he was selling, that brown? Yeah. That's not a wallet. You know what that is? That's a professional card holder. That usually comes with when you order a box of cards. It's cheaper, but you can buy those leather like he did. That wasn't a half wallet. That was a card holder.
And do you know what, as well? I'll see if I can post them on a video. I still think I've got the messages where I was interacting with Lorne on eBay because he had the journal, the prison journal, and I really fucking wanted that. I would have... And he wanted money for it, and I said, I tell you what, right, why don't you give that journal to Betty, and we'll pay Betty the money, and then that way Betty gets some money back for the journal, and we get the journal. And he told me to fuck off. And he didn't even
That's
know
right. You were just giving him solid advice. You were giving him solid marketing advice.
He didn't like. Well, he might have known who I was actually. He did have my name on the. But he was trying to portray that he was trying to pay Betty back. Of course, we know he wasn't. But it was like that was like a reasonable thing to say. It's like, right, okay, you want to pay her back, and you want to get some money out of that, and he just shot it down immediately, and it just highlighted how ridiculously selfish he is. It was but just think, right, within the last 10 minutes, think about the crazy things that we've highlighted. He rants at his own comments and claims himself as being disgusting. He does a cooking show and a keep fit show, sells T-shirts and signed guitars worth more than Dolly Parton.
Yeah,
it's a good comparison, Kennedy, that you brought up. It's like the Tiger King when you're watching that. You're like, is this real?
Yeah, it's very surreal.
Andy?
Yes, dude.
Hi. One of my favorite things mentioning that is his complete inability to get anyone's name right. Like obviously thinking Clobber's middle name is King, calling you Mr. Birdcat. And the truth is, I actually don't know. How do you properly pronounce your last name? I never know, because I've heard Lorne say it wrong so many times.
It's just Burkett. Like, most people say Burkett, and Clobber says Burkat, but more types it rather than says it.
Dude, the other day, this is...
All right, Burkett.
nothing for nothing, but somebody made a comment that you sound like Michael Busming, whatever
That's
that
been
dude. I
said
didn't know
a
who that
lot.
was. I didn't know
Is
who
he
that
an
was.
MMA fighter or something?
Yes. I looked him up. You sound exactly like him, or he sounds exactly like you. It's freaky. It's freaky.
I gotta ask Klob when Klob Fest is gonna be.
Klobstock? That's
Yeah, Klobstock.
It's October 18th, 2020. Right across the street from Lorne's house.
Well, Klob, I'll be like 8 months pregnant, but
That's okay. You could bring kids to Klobstock. You just can't.
But if that happens,
can't bring them to Klobstock.
Imagine
we'll have Roy deliver it.
The mayor of Cornville, you lucky
lady. Oh God! I would rather the dog deliver my baby than Roy.
Would you let Lorne in if he shut up?
Well, if I had kids there, he wouldn't be able to.
Well, yeah, we segregate him, and
no, Lorne would have to pay $100.
Can we put him in a cage like we used to do, like the freaks from the circuses and stuff? Could we just do that and like at Klobstock? That way he's not technically within 50 feet of any kids we have there. He's just in a metal cage in the middle of
Kennedy,
is it our Burning Man?
Is it within the realm of possibility that your kid could be born on October 18th?
My due date is November the 9th.
Wow.
Definitely a preemie. I was a month early. It's possible.
Yes.
Induced birth.
Yeah, she would,
I think you're gonna have to get the kid.
She would be
induced birth.
She would be a preemie if I had her. November the 18th. But I could.
Kayla?
I could very well go.
Yeah.
How about Kyla?
Her name is Aram.
Oh, okay.
You can name her Hannah Nicole.
Yeah, no.
I bet Hannah Nicole.
My husband doesn't know much about TCAP, but he already told me, he was like, no Kayla, no Hannah Nicole, nothing involving TCAP. He was like, I will make sure.
Gwendolyn?
Gwen, yes, Gwen.
His mom's name's Gwendolyn. So we can do that.
Misappropriate.
Her name is Aram.
Real quick, I know we were talking about Lorne moments, and for me, the one moment that like really solidified the calls and everything when I was they were scattered all over YouTube and I couldn't really follow it was when Lorne found out about the doctor seeing Ramona naked, and God. how the story just kind of escalated because like she just kept adding more details to it, and when he screamed "What?" Like Little John. That was
yes.
Like okay.
Wes, you know what's amazing about that? She had dropped that on him. Like she was, for instance, she was trying to get to the point where she said she saw the doctor in her underwear first, and then of course that turns. But she had said that like in several times before, and he just didn't listen.
No, I know, and then it's like he finally caught it, and and that scream, that what? Like every time I hear it. It just, I laugh. It was so great. It's such a great, the way it just slowly escalates. It's a slow burn. It didn't just drop on him all at once. She just kept giving him parts of the story, and then she's in a thong, and she has her back turned, and he's just getting so angry.
Put some clothes on. What? I played that over and over and over again. That was. And then the follow-up.
Yeah, the
on
what
that,
is great.
The follow-up was nobody's afraid of you in prison.
Do you think he had to be like put in the wing with like the mentally unstable people, basically, to keep out of Jinn population? Because in Jinn population, they would have probably fucking killed him.
I think
definitely anal sex. Definitely.
I
think he was segregated, like with the other pedophiles and snitches and cops who got busted. I think he was always protected.
He says he wasn't.
More than likely.
He was asked in a call, and he said he was in Gen Pop.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. He had to probably lie his ass off about what he did then. Because as soon as you find out in Gen Pop what somebody like Lorne did, you're pretty much fucked, literally.
And he was in two prison systems too, a state of Kentucky, and the federal system. And the state is usually not as nice, but they would definitely segregate.
Yes, states. My grandfather was a cop, and he worked for the state police. So I've heard stories of what happens to pedophiles in prison in the state police if they're put in Gen Pop on accident.
I believe
it's not pretty and it's not fun, but they deserve every bit of it.
Oh.
Yeah. So, what's Joran? What's your favourite Lorne sort of ism or moment? I mean, I know we've spoke about a few, but is there anything that sticks out?
Well, it's true what they say that Lorne is the gift that keeps giving. Although I agree with you, Andy, that I would never want to meet him, never want to talk to him. I do the whole Star Trek thing also. I mean, this is a guy who has encouraged me. Well, encouraged is the wrong word, but he's responsible for my entire channel and wanting to do that. And the subscribers, everyone please subscribe. But I keep getting more and more ideas because the more calls I hear, the more strange phrases he uses, the more bizarre things he does, from shut the fuck up from about fucking Dan. I turn that into a series where Dan gives sex tips. Everything he says, the more I learn, one of two things happen. Either I clench my fists and get more and more angry at him, or I laugh more and I get more ideas. Because he's so... And that's what brought me to him. I know some people have, history of, unfortunately, terrible things happening in their childhood. With me, it's just looking at him going, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, your thinking pattern is so alien to me that I can't relate, but that makes it fascinating. From the complete inability to learn from his mistakes, to never taking, learning from life lessons, to just being so dumb, it's magnetic to me that he is so weird and has such an ego for no reason. You know, if they call him a pedophile, he gets a little mad, but if Tiffany calls him fat, he gets furious. It's like, no, you call him ugly. That's what ticks him off. Not calling him a registered sex offender, but call him fat and ugly. Oh, I'm not fat. And so that keeps making me, and obviously so many other people in the community, want to be creative because he's so strange, but inspiring in a comedic way.
Yeah, he's like nobody else. I still can't comprehend the things he does. Like, it'd be easy to just dismiss him as having like some kind of severe form of autism, but I don't think he does. I think there is some kind of underlying condition there, but the fact that nobody has actually been able to pinpoint it exactly would say that it's quite subtle. It isn't something that isn't something that is obvious, so therefore it's just him being him. He's so ridiculous. It's like, you're right, he has this sense of arrogance. It's like, arrogance? Really? What the fuck? It's like, this guy has been
what is that based on?
I think I pinpointed it in one of my early I think I pointed it out in one of my early videos that I think he either has fetal alcohol syndrome or I can't think of the name of it, but when we went to go to the doctor, they tested me for it. It starts with a K. It's like, it starts with some kind of K where, like, in men, you have more pronounced breasts and learning disabilities. I can't remember what it's called. I'd have to Google it again. Do what?
Clobbering time?
No, it
doesn't start with a K. That doesn't start with a K.
Oh,
Everyone should be tested for that.
Matt Driver just confirmed he was in PC, state and federal.
Yeah,
He
I
wouldn't
believe it.
All right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the kind of it's kind of ridiculousness at which we can't. His inability to see himself through the eye. I mean, we can't. We all have our own way of looking at the world and ourselves and our self-image, but he doesn't seem to be able to ever understand how he would appear from an outside source, which is probably a good thing, because if he could, can you imagine if he suddenly became self-aware and he suddenly understood what people thought of him, or just does he not care? Does he not have the ability to, or does it? It's strange, isn't it? Because I put myself in his shoes and I'm thinking, without being horrible, I'd jump off a bridge immediately.
Me too.
I think he's had to ignore what he is and not be self-aware, because I would jump off a bridge too. So to preserve himself, he just has to live in this state of delusion.
That's the price of being a celebrity, Andrew. You should know that.
That's why Stallone.
He doesn't really.
Stallone admires his.
I was just going to say
stick-to-itiveness.
Right. He doesn't care about what us commoners think about him. When the celebrities like Stallone and Leah Remedy and Gordon Honey Daddy Ramsay, those are the people he cares about.
Wasn't Shania Twain a fan of his as well?
Shania Twain, she sure was. She's going to write a song for him.
Didn't he say when he got out of? Yeah, I think he said.
I think it's all for fun.
I think he might have said something at some point, to someone. I'm not sure when. Oh, do the celebrities still follow me, or is Stallone turning up at court or something?
He did. While he was doing those prison calls, he was asking about Stallone and Shania Twain and Dolly Parton
for chair aerobics. That is funny.
Yeah, that's why Stallone wanted him for a chair aerobics video.
Chair aerobics. Can you imagine?
That's what I call low impact.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think as well, I've not heard any of the calls myself, but when they got him to believe that Casey Moreau actually was in love with him, I think that was pretty remarkable. That if you ever needed any further clarification that this guy doesn't live on planet Earth, that was it. You know what I mean?
And Andy, he thought they were going to be a celebrity couple. A celebrity couple.
No, that was Tiffany.
Because she was a model and he was the biggest thing on NBC.
Yeah.
Shit.
Do you know what,
I mean,
though?
it just goes to show that...
If you think about that, right, you would say that Lorne is actually insane. You'd think, for a person to believe that, there's some massive, massive issue here that... In other words, we'd probably get accused of bullying a vulnerable person, but of course he isn't vulnerable. He's a strange person, right? If you was going to look at this on paper, you'd say this is a guy who should be institutionalized. He's clearly insane. He's got a lot, really pronounced psychological issues, insanity, whatever condition it may be. But it's like I said earlier, we can't pinpoint anything. It's what? He's just. What is it that makes him so stupid? I mean, it's not just stupidity. We all fuck up. But what the fuck is it? I'm at loss. Even now, man.
I think he wants to believe it. He wants to believe so badly that there are women who are attracted to him and can look past,
Twain, though.
What happened. I know.
Come on.
Sorry, it is Kinfeller syndrome. I literally spent a few minutes having to Google it. I think that's how you pronounce that. It's KLINEFELT.
Sorry, what's this? What's this?
The other syndrome I believe Lorne might have besides fetal alcohol.
Okay, right. Okay, we'll have to look into that.
He shows a lot of the same symptoms that a male with this syndrome would have.
Yeah, but I think there is something in that fetal alcohol syndrome. I think Isaiah did a video about it too, and he talks about it, and he does seem to tick a lot of the boxes. We've all from the beginning, us Lornographers, have tried to figure out, is he mentally ill? What is going on in that brain of his? We obviously know he's not got problems, and this is one of the reasons why I've not been, I've sort of the catfishing and that, it's potentially a little bit. We're dealing with a really sick and twisted individual. It's funny because of the things he comes out with, and it almost gives it that you can dismiss the really bad implications of it all because it's so comical. But you must always remember that you're dealing with a really sick individual here. He's criminally insane, he's perverted, he has got no morals at all, like none. And even like people that are criminals, like have a moral code that they stick to. If you're on that side of the law, but he doesn't.
That's what I think. That's what's part of funny about him when you examine his value system.
You examine one.
What he does value is weird. It's just strange. Trying to think of something. It's really hard. He doesn't value normal things.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is to both of the kill filler, I don't know how to say it, syndrome, and fetal alcohol syndrome share a lot of the same traits. And I didn't know what it was till I went to the doctor, and they were like, "Hey, we're going to do a lot of blood workup. You're going to get tested for this." And I'm like, "What's that?" And they're like, "If you have a little boy, it's where you can get an extra X chromosome."
I don't think he would have got out of basic training if he had fetal alcohol syndrome, personally. Like, Air Force basic training is not a joke. And there's a test that you have to pass before you can even become an airman. So I don't believe he has fetal alcohol syndrome or anything else. Or
do we know if he was? He
made it out of basic training.
Boxes?
No, it doesn't matter. Like I was in the Air Force, so I know that he would not have made it out if he had any kind of disorder like that. They weed people out. There were people there who were borderline, like they had some issues. You can tell they don't make it past week 5. Week 5 is where you take a test, and if you don't score in the top 80%, you go back another week, and you keep doing that week over and over again. There was a guy who had been there 14 weeks because he just kept getting to week 5, and he got recycled every time.
And Lorne got through.
So what you're saying is Lorne actually has brain.
I mean, he graduated high school, which I know doesn't mean a ton, but I mean he did graduate high school, and he did make it at least through the testing portion of basic training in order to join the official Air Force. He got to his base. Now, whatever he did in tech school, I don't know. I don't know how well he did in that, or if he washed out of several AFSCs. But I know he at least got through that. So I don't believe I think he's just dumb. Some people are just dumb, and there's no excuse for it. There's no. There's nothing that you could point to other than their own stupidity.
I think Lorne is the laziest person alive.
Well, he does. And, I've never seen him in person. Andrew has. But from the videos I've seen, he just looks like something's not ticking right in the internal clock.
Well, that's chromosomes and whatever else happened in that family tree. But I often wonder, how the hell Lorne's sperm beat all those other billions to hit that egg? How did he beat everybody?
I mean,
well,
his only lifetime victory.
I mean, have you met the other siblings?
Well, yeah, you have maybe a Roy sperm.
I thought you were going to say, did you meet the other sperm then? I'm like, well, that'd have been tricky.
Well, he had other kinds of sperms around him. He had a Lori type of sperm, a Paul type
messy as well.
To be fair, Shin, the sperm the egg was under 13.
That's true.
The only one who wanted it. But how the hell does he start off life so lucky like that? I mean, just randomly, and then boom.
He was the fastest one somehow.
It was the sperm that was singing really, really loud.
Backwards.
That's a miracle to me.
He got to Bowling Green.
That sperm was looking for a place to turn off, but it looks like whatever the exit just wasn't coming, so he decided to keep going. But that's one of the miracles of life. I mean, how we get formed, and that race down there that's happening, and he won out of billions. It's weird.
First and last time he's ever won anything.
Yeah, it makes me question how weak was the other sperm that his biological father just had Lorne.
Yeah.
Maybe his father only had one sperm left and it was Lorne. Maybe that's why that sperm won.
That's a
Lorne
possibility.
got rid of all the other guys. Once he gets rid of all the
Don't
other
forget,
guys,
he was the last one to be born, wasn't it? It would make sense that basically was his last contribution to society. He had he was thinking, right, I'm going to give something horrible to the world now. There you go, have a bit of that, you fuckers.
What a legacy.
Exactly.
Do we know? Sorry, random question, but do we know if the rest of the kids are like Lauren's half siblings, like they all have the same mother but not the same father, or do they all have? Okay, so they all have the same father too.
Yeah, I think so. Tiffany, you tell me. I'm assuming.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They all have the same dad.
Okay. I just didn't know if like that was the explanation for that was Lauren's dad was not the same as the rest, and that really was his last sperm.
Yeah, I just picture his sperm like entering the ova. Hello, sir. And there's Chris Hansen waiting for him.
Hi, sir.
That's got a Crank Cinema video written all over it.
It does.
Isn't it just?
Somebody's got to do that.
I love those.
He
videos.
sabotages the other sperm. He complains about one being an alcoholic and needs help. You know?
Yeah.
Just on a completely non-Lorne related matter, have you seen the video Crank Cinema did about Lee Gray when he just keeps saying pickles, pickles?
No,
It's so funny. It's just,
it's
he only
classic.
says it once, but we just attribute Lee Gray to pickles.
Oh God! The video of Jeff, Stacey, and Lorne having children together has forever just burned itself into my memory.
Yeah, I think it was Jeff, Stacey, and Lorne going on a date, was it?
Yeah, and then they have a baby. It was Jeff, Stacey, and Lorne have a baby.
Love it already.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but everybody should check out Orested's new. Have you seen it, Andrew? Orested's new video.
I've not seen it yet. No.
Oh my God! I'm not gonna give anything away, but it's a great scene with West.
We'll definitely have to check that out. Was it who was it Arrested that did the Lorne reality show where it was like The Sims?
He did the one where they did the Tonight Show, the kind of
that's
setup.
what I mean. Yeah.
And then he did the Back to the Future one, which was funny. But this new one is kind of a mashup, and he's done a lot of pretty cool stuff.
It's 6 o'clock.
Sorry. It was
Hey, cheers for that, Rip. Well, I'm glad that you've said that because I have to get up for work soon, so we're going to have to start wrapping up, guys. We've done a good 2.5 hours, and all of you Lorne fans, don't worry because Clobber's going to be doing a stream later. If you just want to plug that a little bit, dude.
Yeah, I'll be on at, about an hour and a half, 6:30 Central Time.
All right, cool.
You want to tell
anything specific you're going over today? Is it going to be about Lorne by any chance?
I think we'll touch on Lorne. Which is the closest he'll ever get touched on in his entire life. But yeah, I think I'm gonna. I played a pretty long call last week. I only got through about an hour of it, so we're gonna continue with that.
You just made me realise as well, right? Just think about all the internet traffic, the YouTube traffic that goes on in relation to Lorne. If someone was to say this to him like 15 years ago, he'd think, "Oh, brilliant! I finally made it." But no, all of this internet traffic and YouTube traffic, he doesn't get a penny for it. He's probably like millions of hits.
What's even better, Andrew, is that he thinks I'm like a multi-millionaire because of it.
That's brilliant.
Clever. I've never seen you advertise anything. Do you? Do you have anything or
advertise like what?
Are you using your logo, your trademarks on anything?
Oh, I haven't made a goddamn dime off of any of this stuff. In fact, I'm in the hole from all this stuff. But I love that Lorne thinks that I'm making a fortune.
You'll have to make Lorne think though that you are a multimillionaire. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no, that's what I want. That's what I want. If I'm sure he's not listening to this, or else I wouldn't admit it. But yeah, no, I want him to think that. I always bring up my T-shirts, my fictional T-shirt store, and and all that stuff.
Well, I mean,
Didn't he mention it to his lawyer?
Yeah,
Lorne mentioned it to his lawyer.
He did.
When I built the Codstock website, I put shirts on there, and they're ridiculously expensive, and they're all sold out.
Yeah,
and I have them, listed at like 2,500 of these shirts sold out. I put shirts on there. They're like $100, and they're all completely sold out.
That's great.
Yeah, so that was part of the troll.
Can I say one thing? One of the things that really gives a good insight into Lorne is his book, Taken Abroad. I know we haven't seen a lot of it, but I would suggest everybody check out Tiffany's channel, reading that. That gives a really good insight into Lorne in terms of, first of all, his literary ability, but his thoughts and how they work.
Oh, big time! I just never wanted to give him any money. I've always wanted to read it. I just couldn't bring myself to buy it.
Yeah.
Have you read the whole book, Tiffany? Is that what's on your channel? The whole book?
No,
yeah, or it will be very soon, right, Tiffany?
How many chapters are there?
Probably within the next year, it'll all be there.
Oh,
it takes me a little while to do
How
that.
many are there now? Just out of curiosity, how many?
There's four, and you know that as well, because you give me shit all the time. And there's a total of 12 chapters. So eventually, everyone's going to be hearing this book. With a few edits in there as well. So not all of it is Lorne talking, through his writing. Some of it is Tiffany deciding to make it a little sexy.
Gay subtext. Great gay subtext.
It's great. Right. It's great, guys. Check it out, man.
Thank you. Anyway.
What could be better? Lorne's stupid book with Tiffany's stupid voice.
Right, exactly.
a third of the book, to be honest.
For all you Lorne Argus out there, Clobber will be on tonight, but I also found out Lorne Identity will be on after him. So
about damn time.
I will be back to making videos soon now that I am not bedridden.
I didn't get arrested.
So live streams will be coming. I didn't get arrested. I got bedridden. Significant difference.
Everybody, please subscribe to me, YouTube Joran Comedy.
Yes.
I make fun of Lorne in a very, very wide variety of ways, from sketches, some featuring clobbering time, and songs and
pretty talented, I might add. You're a good singer.
Thank you. Thanks, I appreciate that a lot.
Say something in the chat, pal, and then people have your channel.
Oh, already one step ahead of you.
Make sure you subscribe to me. I try to put out steady content. I try to be funny. Probably not.
And Fast Eddie's pretty good, too. So everybody should check him out. He's great.
If
you check him out?
Everyone should subscribe to Claude and Andrew.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
Claude's the main person I hear a lot of people get into Lorneography for. He's super supportive in helping everyone start channels, and Andrew was the first person I ever watched a video on Lorneography on. So
nice.
I love the content that's coming out. I love the new people coming out. Love meeting Amanda James, by the way, everybody. I haven't heard from her.
Thanks for joining us, Amanda. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Amanda, have you ever considered doing the analyzation video or just something like that? Maybe starting a channel?
Yeah, I have. I've been thinking about it lately, actually. So we'll see. Maybe I will.
I was going to attempt to poach you, actually, and maybe you should join us for one of our chat log analysis videos. Maybe you could join us.
I love her comments. I love her comments.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I would.
Yeah, we can get Tiffany out of there and put Amanda James
well,
out.
that's, you know what?
Yeah,
But
you
you've just spoiled the game for me now, because I was going to omit it without knowledge, but now you've just ruined it. So cheers.
I'm sorry.
You know what?
You guys will all be
I'm
mean
gonna
to
forget
me.
You guys.
Good in you.
That's right.
Oh, they will too. They will too.
I know.
But we're
I
gonna
can
give
see
them. We're gonna do our
Oh,
own
the
thing.
victim of her own crime.
That's right.
Victim of her own crime. Brilliant. Wes, Mose, thanks for joining us, dude. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, dude, thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming in. And
Wes's channel is great too, by the way.
Oh yeah, of course. That goes without saying.
He just put out a video yesterday.
yeah, Wes, do you just
Yeah,
want
that
to
was
put
great,
something in the
Wes.
chat and then people can check your video out?
I didn't want to, I didn't intend. Didn't want to plug my channel because I really don't. I don't do TCAP stuff really. I mean, I do some stuff with baked salmon, but I mean, that really wasn't my intention. I mean, I appreciate it. But yeah, no, I
well,
really
you may as
appreciate.
well while you're
Are you
here.
trying to tell people to stay away from your channel? Is that what you're doing?
Well, I plan on dropping something about Andrew in the next week, so I didn't want him to be there.
Okay.
This was
Oh,
I was
that's
asking information on this. I need voice clips so I can split it up into my video. But no, I appreciate you having me here. I really do. This was awesome, and I've followed your stuff since I first got into listening to the stuff on YouTube. So it's great to be here and be able to share some opinions with a lot of smart people and clobbering time. So that's cool.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Clobber.
Oh, thanks for coming in, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, and as with everybody, thanks for joining us, Kennedy as well, and I hope we'll see some stuff from you soon. And Joan, thanks for coming in, dude. And Shin and Tiffany, I suppose I can say good.
If anything, the greatest thing I can give this community is to try and have a baby on our Lord and Savior's birthday.
Please
It's
do.
a cursed day,
that
Kennedy.
would
Don't
be
do
pretty
it.
amazing. But I'm afraid, Kennedy, if that does happen, you're not allowed to call her. You've got to call her Kayla. You just
And you have to live stream your birth.
No. No, I will
No,
not
we don't need
live stream
the
the birth.
we don't need the birth
And I will
live
not.
stream.
We could have Lorne deliver it if that helps.
Yeah, because he seemed to.
Can we
want
just
to
have
deliver
the
babies,
dog
didn't
deliver
Yeah.
it? Could
He
we
has
just
some
have
old-
Daisy deliver
he has
the
some
dog, the
old-timey
baby at
techniques.
this point?
Just make sure that your father is in the room. Okay.
I'm gonna need a
That's all.
hacksaw
Don't
and
worry about
some battery acid.
Dr. Moore will deliver your baby.
it. I'm sterile.
That is a terrifying thought that I never want to have enter my brain again as Lorne as a doctor, because all I can imagine is Saul mixed with Sweeney Todd.
All I
Just like-
ask is that all the doctors and nurses be women. Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Lorne would need to rush her to a secondary
doctor's
surgery
a
because
guy.
she only has one clit. So that will be his first concern. This woman is missing several clits.
OBGYNs walk around with a heart on all day long.
Name
so-
your baby Lynn.
Oh, me. No, her name is Aram Alora, and my family has already embroidered everything that's not standing still with this baby's name on it. That's for her.
Oh damn, they ain't kidding.
Forgive us when we rename her. Okay.
Yeah, y'all can call her Lynn. It's fine.
Nice.
Cool. Right. Thanks again, guys. We'll do another. We have to do these every so often. I know Clobber did a similar one a couple of weeks ago, but we always have new, interesting, and funny things to say about Lorne. So it's good to do these every now and again. So thanks everybody for joining us. Christ knows how long this lockdown is going to go on in England, so I might be doing another one like tomorrow. Who knows?
Nice.
It's fucking nuts. But yeah, thanks everybody so much for joining us. Thanks everybody in the chat. Don't forget Clobber's stream later in just over an hour, just under an hour and a half. It's going to be, isn't it? So everybody can jump over there for some more Lorne fun. And yeah, thanks guys in the chat. Thanks to my guests, everybody.
And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and mothers to be.
Yes, thank you.
Happy Mother's Day
Thank
to
you.
all the mothers in this world except for Gorilla Gwen.
Well, I don't know. I think we've got a lot to be grateful for. I think we've got a lot to be grateful for with Mother Gwen. We wouldn't even be here if it weren't for her. So let's give her a bit of credit. Come on. Thank you, Mother Gwen, for giving the Earth Lorne Armstrong and for entertaining us for all these years with these fucking stupid antics. We do appreciate it. And on that note,